What's going on, guys? Welcome back to hashtag AskGSM here today for October 21st, 2025, aka Back to the Future Day. You can tell from my shirt, you can tell from my Marty the McFly hat. Usually it's in the background of these videos. I'm wearing it here today, as it was 10 years ago today. Marty McFly went to the future, now known as the past for us, on October 21st, 2015. So we were honoring the holiday here today. My only regret is that they're not actually putting Back to the Future back in theaters until fucking next weekend. Now that is cool. It's in theaters on Halloween itself. That's awesome. But last year they had Back to the Future in theaters on Back to the Future Day itself on October 21st last year. I couldn't make it last year. I actually just saw the movie in a drive-in a few months before, so I wasn't going to watch it in theaters anyway. This year I might be more inclined to do so. I'll probably still see it anyway if it's in theaters for that full week from Halloween through November 6th or whatever it is. I would imagine that's probably when the theatrical run ends for the movie. But we are celebrating here today, nonetheless. This is hashtag AskGSM, as you guys can tell from the headline, episode 621 here today. We've done fucking 621 episodes of this very show. Thank you for joining me for yet another one this week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Some great questions to get into today, including, has AEW gone too far with the violence? A very good show from AEW on Saturday. Saturday? I think it was Saturday night. Wrestle Dream, caught the show live, very much enjoyed it. But have they gone too far with the violence as seen in the main event between Darby Allin and Jon Moxley in their I Quit match? We'll get into that and so much more here on today's show. A couple housekeeping notes per usual I want to get into here. Thank you to our channel members, Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1, follow him on the IG, at Swerve1, WON on IG. Daniel Malcolm, at I'm Quarter on X, that's letter I, letter M, Quarter on X. Mr. Marceau himself, who threw in a comment here as we got going live. I'll read his comment here in a couple of minutes. You can follow him on the Twitter machine, at RJ_Marceau on the Twitter machine. John Ritland, Real Honestly with John Ritland right here on YouTube. There's a lot of great movie content and so much more. He actually just reviewed Black Phone within the last week. I saw that on Sunday with Alexis. We were going to see it today. We saw it on Sunday instead, and we actually thoroughly enjoyed it. John Ritland did not agree. He had a very polarizing, but a polar opposite opinion of the movie. Check him out on Letterboxd and here on YouTube. Richie as well, Red Planet Wrestling right here on YouTube. And last but not least, Average Grunt at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social on Blue Sky. Thank you once again to our channel members. If you are a channel member, $5 a month gets you shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do here on the channel, specifically Tuesdays and Thursdays, hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio. If you send in a question here to the show for hashtag AskGSM or a comment or a topic for us to talk about on WrestleRant Radio, you get top billing as a channel member. You can also unlock certain access to certain emojis and badges and live chats here for these live streams on the channel. Early and ad-free access to certain videos, such as WrestleRant Radio excerpts, WrestleRant Ranks, which I did rank every Edge match from his most recent run in WWE from 2020 through 2023. I did that last night here on the channel. The video went up a little bit later than usual. I just had a lot going on this weekend, specifically, not really the weekend, but like Sunday night going into Monday. It was a very busy day yesterday. So check that out when you get a chance, and so much more. So those include all the perks here of being a channel member. I don't have the picture with me right now. I wish I had it to put up here on the screen. Excuse me, but you can also check out ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant to support the brand, support WrestleRant, support me. Get a t-shirt, and in doing so, you can have your own Halloween WrestleRant themed t-shirt. We have a WrestleRant Halloween shirt, a regular WrestleRant shirt, and a Christmas WrestleRant shirt as well. All available right now over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. If you get a shirt, I will shout you out here on the show and shout you out on social media, what have you. So please consider that as well over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WrestleRant. That link also available in the description box down below. And last but not least, if you want to send in a question to this very show, in addition to being here live with us on Tuesday afternoons and Tuesday mornings, you can also send in a question after the fact to be included in next week's edition, guaranteed, through either Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. On Facebook, find me at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. I put it up a little bit later last night than usual, but the post usually does go up on Monday nights. You can find me on Twitter as well. Tweet me there with a question at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. And last but not least, on YouTube as well. Find me here on this very video, obviously, in the comment section after we're done being live, after the video is processed. Drop a comment on the video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So, again, thank you to everyone joining us live. At the very least, if you want to support the channel, support the video, support WrestleRant, you can do so simply by liking this video and subscribing. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Hit that notification bell as well to be notified every single time we go live here on the channel and every single time daily content is uploaded. Pretty much daily. It's usually 6 out of 7 days of the week, if not 7 days out of the week. So hit that notification bell as well. I would appreciate it. But thank you to those joining us live here today, including Fernando. He said, Buenos dias, WrestleRant. He also said, it feels good to see AJ Styles with a championship once again. I agree. His first time with championship gold since, would it have been the last time he was tag team champion? He was tag team champion last 4 years ago, almost exactly. He lost the belt. He lost the belt at SummerSlam with Omos. And I think him and Randy Orton got a title shot. Him and Omos against Randy Orton and Riddle, because they were RK Bro. They took the titles from them. I think 4 years ago today at Crown Jewel, they got a rematch, and I think they lost, and that might have been the final title shot they got. So I don't know if he's been champion since then, though. Was he United States champion or Intercontinental champion? I don't think so. He was Intercontinental champion 5 years ago. I don't think we've seen AJ Styles as a champion since then. Certainly not as a singles champion in quite some time. But he also asked, your top 5 favorite AJ Styles title victories from any promotion. That's a good question. I think number 1 for me would have been 12 years ago yesterday. Actually, on the exact 12-year anniversary of the moment I'm about to mention, he became World Tag Team Champion in WWE. So October 20th is a very good day for AJ Styles. But on October 20th, 2013, he won back the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. I was not watching TNA when he was NWA World Champion. When he won the TNA World Championship the first time in 2010, I was watching the product, but I wasn't really closely watching. When he won the championship from, I think it was a 5-way, a fucking Victory Road or one of those shows in late 2009, I remember the run that he had as TNA World Champion, but I was not watching the pay-per-view, so I can't say any of those. But when he did win back the TNA World Championship in 2013, I was really invested in that whole dark, evil ways AJ Styles storyline. He had a great Bound for Glory main event with Bully Ray. May have been a last man standing match because they had a last man standing match years earlier that was also great at Slammiversary, and AJ avenged that loss from that night. Really liked that storyline, really liked the payoff. He also left TNA soon after, so that was his final title win in the company. But that would probably be number 1. Close number 2 was when he won the WWE Championship on Backlash 2016, his first championship win in WWE. An awesome match with Dean Ambrose in that pay-per-view. Backlash that year, and that was a great run, although it was cut short by John Cena at the Royal Rumble. When he won back the WWE Championship on SmackDown against Jinder Mahal. Now, it was spoiled in advance because they taped the show in England. So, and that was before they were airing the shows live. If it happened in England, they were not airing it on fucking Netflix. So you had to wait until it aired live on USA or wherever the fuck it was at that point. But WWE already fucking spoiled it. They already put out the outcome on their website, so it was already spoiled in advance, but it's still a very good match. Jinder Mahal's best match as WWE Champion was his last one, hilariously enough, when he lost it to AJ Styles on SmackDown. So that would be 3. 4, maybe when he won the Intercontinental Championship from Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. Very much forgotten about, but they vacated the IC Championship in 2020 during COVID. Sami Zayn took time off, and they stripped him of the Intercontinental Championship. I think they held either a tournament or like a quick tournament, something like that. And it came down to Bryan and AJ for the vacant IC Championship on SmackDown. And AJ went over and won the belt, which was great. And they had this really long match in the PC, I think it was. And again, it never gets talked about because there were no fans and it was so long ago. But they had one of the better matches during that Thunderdome PC era of WWE. That would be 4, and then 5, I might actually move this up to 4, but when he and Kurt Angle won the TNA World Tag Team Championships together, they were in a fucking amazing team. And it's one of my favorite AJ Styles matches, period, when him and Angle won the tag titles from, I think it was Kazarian and Daniels at Slammiversary 2012. I love that show, and I love that match. So that might even be like, that. I would probably actually move that up to 3. So his second TNA title victory, his first WWE title victory, winning the TNA tag titles with Angle in 2012, him winning the back the WWE title in 2018 or 17, that would have been. And then lastly, when he won the Intercontinental Championship. He won the U.S. Championship a bunch of times in 2017. He might be either a 2 or 3-time United States champion. He also won it back from Ricochet, I think, at the Extreme Rules show, I want to say, in 2019. None of those are my favorite AJ Styles title victories. And, when he was in TNA, he didn't win a whole lot of championships that I would have been watching. Like when he was fucking Legends champion and Global champion, I wasn't watching the pay-per-views at that point, so I couldn't say those. And I don't think in the time that I was watching TNA when he was there, I don't think he ever held the X Division championship. So those would be my top 5. Good question. And in the time that he was in Ring of Honor, when I was watching ROH, I started watching Ring of Honor a decade ago full time because of AJ Styles. That is how much of an AJ Styles fan I am. And I would never really watched in the time anyway, his New Japan run. I've gone back and watched matches he had, but I don't think I was watching any of the times he won the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Fernando also said, can we please have Triple H book the tag titles to be defeated or defended, I think is what he means, regularly, for Pete's sake. I agree. I think the tag team division has really been his Achilles heel in the time that he's been head of WWE Creative. There's been some moments of like a resurgence for the division, but by and large, he really hasn't given a shit about those tag titles, so I would agree with that. Hopefully last night was a step in the right direction, but I feel like him and AJ and Dragon Lee might only be keeping those belts warm for Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. That's kind of the sense that I get. He also said, what are your thoughts on WWE making, or planning rather, AI to write wrestling storylines? So I've seen conflicting reports. I saw the initial one from Meltzer, and I'm thinking, is this even a real post? Like, is this one of those engagement accounts that post out fake shit so people will kind of get riled over something that isn't real? But no, it was a very real report, and then it came out later from either Fightful or PW Insider that they're not using AI to write storylines. That's not their plan. That's not what they're doing. It would honestly seem that way based on some of the SmackDowns and Raws that I've seen in recent months. I would not be shocked. But it said they just use it for either like removing noise from certain videos or video packages, or, as far as storylines, they might use it to, like, as a history lesson. Like, oh, when was the last match that Roxanne Perez and Stephanie had? What is their record against each other? And I wouldn't even really rely on AI for that, because typically whenever I've looked up, like, when was the last match these two people had, or their winning record, AI is very much wrong a lot of the time. Like the Google AI overview is wrong quite a bit. You kind of have to do actual research on what a concept to find out the correct answers to those sort of questions. So AI is garbage. I cannot emphasize that enough. Like, I think it was someone here on the show that asked me a few weeks ago or whenever it was. Let me just double check the mic is on. It is. I always have to double check because I'm always fearful whenever we've started these videos. My mic is not on and it fucks up, but I think we're good. That would have been embarrassing to be live for like 15, 20 minutes and not realize that the mic was off the entire time. But anyway, the AI stuff is garbage. The Source stuff is garbage. I don't like seeing it. I don't think it's funny. I think it's stupid. And people just enabling it because they think it's funny and they continue to spread it. It's going to get to a point, and we might already be at that point, where we don't really know. It's hard to decipher. It's difficult to decipher what's real and what's not. So, among other reasons, AI is trash. Johnny said he agrees that AEW is going too far with the violence, saying just shock value. He also said, as a hardcore lover, that match was garbage and didn't deserve to be the main event. He also said bonjour. He also said Ultimo Dragon has to show up in AEW in a segment with Monet. I don't think a lot of people would give a shit. I mean, Tony Khan might care. Tony Khan might bring an Ultimo Dragon just to have him pass the torch to Mercedes. But like the funny thing about that is that I guess Ultimo Dragon, with the 10 belts that he had in that picture, it's a very famous picture, but no one remembers what any of those belts are or the runs that he had with them, because it only lasted like a week or something like that. I've just seen the meme. It's funny for the meme, but I mean, I could see Tony Khan bringing him in just to share the screen with Monet for like 5 seconds. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know how many people would really care, but I wouldn't be shocked. Johnny says, Tony and Mina winning the women's tag titles. I could see it. That seems to be the next logical direction for Tony and Mina. But I would rather the belts go to Ty Mello and Anna Jay first. I mean, they've been a team for a lot longer. They really deserve it. I mean, unless it's Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford, who are also like a full-fledged team, Jay and Mello have been a team for fucking years. They really should be the first ever champions, in my opinion. Johnny said, Tony Khan has gone too far with champions not defending their belts, but going for another title. I mean, Triple H has the same issue, right? I mean, Finn Balor and JD McDonough had been tag team champions for 4 or 5 months with only one defense up until last night, and they lost it on their second defense. So it's not just an AEW issue. NXT does it too. Sol Ruca is the women's speed champion, the North American champion. She's going for the fucking NXT women's title and the WWE women's tag titles. It's like, just focus on the championships you have. Dominic won the AAA Mega Championship about a month or so ago. Hasn't defended it since. Again, like, what's the point? I don't really see what that accomplishes. It's cool, but what does it really accomplish? Mr. Marceau chiming in, he included this real quick before he head out for a meeting, but he said, the hardcore plunder is half the reason I don't watch AEW anymore. I saw it Bound for Glory, and it was terrible. Have a good stream, brother. I appreciate that, RJ. Appreciate that, my man. But, yeah, so there you go for Mr. Marceau himself. We talked about his viewing habits with AEW a couple of weeks ago when it came down to, like, the record low ratings for the company and why he specifically does not watch anymore. And one of the reasons, evidently, as he just said right there, is the hardcore plunder. And to a degree, I absolutely agree. I mean, and not to rhyme, no intention to rhyme there, but AEW just does a lot of the fucking plunder. It just feels like once a week they have a street fight. In WWE, the same thing. And I feel like there's a happy medium there. We see a lot of no DQ, falls count anywhere, no holds barred matches in both companies. In WWE, those matches aren't nearly extreme enough to justify happening as often as they do. And in AEW, they're far too extreme to the point where it just doesn't mean anything. I think just doing less of those matches, period, will make them mean more, but also not going too far with the spots where we're just numb to people going through fucking glass. And a lot of that shit in AEW involves Darby Allin. The guy's just a nutcase. The guy doesn't care. But you know who should care? Tony Khan. For the sake of his company. I mean, I'm not even talking about like the waterboarding thing with the fish tank. I wasn't a fan of that, but I'm not going to sit here and act all high and mighty and say, oh, like, the kids are watching. I saw what Sarita said, the former Sarita from TNA, Sarah Stock. I can't say I necessarily agree with that. There's so much dumb shit we see on wrestling TV and all these companies that kids can replicate. That's really no different. That might be more dangerous because you're drowning someone, but I was talking more so like the fingernail shit with the fucking skewer under the fingernails. That was just disgusting. And I tweeted this out during the show on Saturday where I know their intent is, oh, like, you're going to hate Jon Moxley for this. You got to get heat. It's not really a heat thing. It just makes me uncomfortable. It makes me not want to watch. And it's not even like, and I've seen people say, oh, like, there's kids watching these shows. I agree. I mean, for a company that brands themselves as family friendly, they are fucking far from family friendly. When they have some of the violent matches that they do, and it's not even just like I had seen people say, oh, the match happened at midnight. Like, surely by that point, kids will be sleeping. Okay, bro, they could fucking watch it the next day, first of all. And second of all, at 8 o'clock prime time on Dynamite, they have women, like, you know, they have some of the stuff they have the women doing on these shows. Also, I would not be comfortable if I had a kid showing my kid to this sort of stuff or bringing them to a show. I don't know, for a company that brands themselves and having family-friendly prices, even for their pay-per-views, they're watching this shit at fucking midnight. They're not going to leave after 11 o'clock. I don't know, man. I don't really, that stuff doesn't really bother me, but I also don't really agree with the excuses as to why, oh, kids aren't watching anyway, so it's okay to do. Leave that shit to like the GCWs and the indie bullshit that doesn't really have a lot else going for them, so they kind of rely on the shock value to get people to talk about it or enjoy their matches. You can do hardcore matches, but shit like that I know for a fact Darby and Jon Moxley are pitching to Tony Khan because they know it would get real shock value. Leave that shit to the fucking mud show bullshit, in my opinion. We'll get more to the violent stuff in a little bit. I haven't even answered the question. I was just going off of RJ's comment there, but, you know, we'll get into it more momentarily. Nathaniel, what's going on? He said, hi, my Seahawks won yesterday. He also said, do you think they should have Punk beat Jay? Absolutely. He also said, I was hoping for AJ versus Punk. I mean, AJ Lee versus CM Punk probably happens more than we're aware of, but AJ Styles versus CM Punk, I agree. I was watching that Battle Royal. I knew it wasn't going to happen. I thought LA Knight was a far more logical pick because it looked like they were building up to LA Knight and CM Punk in recent weeks on Raw. LA Knight wasn't even pinned in that triple threat number one contenders match last week on Raw. So that tells me they were specifically protecting LA Knight on purpose. Now, he wasn't pinned last night, but, like, where does he go from here? He's not involved in the World Championship match at Saturday Night's main event. And whoever Punk faced was not going to win anyway. Like Jey Uso, LA Knight, they're not going to win. So why not go for a better match? CM Punk and Jey Uso does very little for me. And I'll get more into the Jey Uso dilemma on Thursday's WrestleRant Radio with RJ. Maybe he disagrees. I'm not sure. We'll get his take on Thursday. Jey Uso is a world championship challenger. At this stage currently, does nothing for me. The whole him wanting to be like a mini Roman Reigns, first of all, doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I thought we already went through this a few years ago. And second of all, it is interesting. It is more interesting than what they were doing with Jey previously, which was really nothing. It is compelling, and I like whatever story they're telling, although I'm not really sure what the end game is supposed to be there. Hopefully not one of them turning on each other or another fucking bloodline. That's the last thing we need currently in WWE in 2025. But Jey Uso, just as a challenger for Punk, is just not interesting. Now, if he had challenged, if Rollins was still World Heavyweight Champion, and we got Rollins and Jey Uso on a pay-per-view, I would be one of the people not complaining about that. Because we've seen the match before, but not enough to where it's like, I'm sick of seeing it. You know, like we got it for the World Championship, I think in late 2023 on Raw. We got the match earlier this year on Raw as well. And I think that second match ended in a no contest. Like it was either disqualification or interference from Punk or whatever. So we never really got the match. And they used to be friends in storyline with Jey and Rollins, so then for them to turn into enemies, I kind of like that. But Rollins got hurt. And I don't think Jey was ever supposed to be penciled in for this spot. Like, it's not like it was the original plan. The original plan for that event coming up on November 1st was Punk and Rollins. It's clear as day that's where they were going with it. Rollins got hurt. They had to crown a new champion. Jey is not an interesting opponent. I don't even want fucking Jey Uso to win. We got his World Heavyweight Championship reign. Why would you give it back to him so soon? It's not interesting. If you want to give us like an obvious outcome of Punk winning, that's fine. I honestly don't have an issue with Punk winning the championship because he won it at SummerSlam for like 5 minutes. If you want to give him a real run for a couple of month, whatever, that's fine. But just give us a better attraction as a main event. I mean, what the fuck? Jey Uso and CM Punk? Who legitimately wants to see that match? Jey Uso is over. I get the main event push that he gets. I understand why. But as a match, it's not interesting. LA Knight and Punk can talk people into a building. I know they only have 1 week to build to whatever match they're going to do at Saturday night's main event because the show is next weekend, believe it or not. But that would be a far more interesting build than Punk and Jey Uso. And again, it's not really about the build because they only have 1 week to sell people on it anyway. But as a match, it does nothing for me. You also have Punk and AJ Styles that we've never seen one-on-one in WWE before. They were both involved in a triple threat, a Money in the Bank qualifier earlier this year, on my birthday actually, on Raw, which also is AJ Styles' birthday, fittingly enough. But they haven't had a one-on-one match in like 2 decades, since Ring of Honor. Like, that's a very long time ago. That would have been cool too, and hopefully we could still get that match down the road. The only thing I'll say is, and your question and your comment wasn't really about LA Knight, but I'm hoping that, I feel like an idiot for even suggesting this, and like I said, we'll talk more about it on Thursday. I would like to think that they're not doing Punk and LA Knight next weekend because they're holding off on that for a formal feud between the two at either Survivor Series, maybe even WrestleMania. I fucking doubt it. But like, that is the only thing that makes me think that's why we're not getting it next weekend. But even then, you can still do the match. Like, they can have one match. It's not like this. I mean, yeah, it's a first time ever encounter one-on-one, but they can have their first match of many at Saturday night's main event. Cody and Randy already had their first match of this feud. Obviously, they had a number of matches years ago in WWE. But since Cody came back, they had no matches. We all expected them to feud eventually. We're probably getting it on the sooner side. But we got their first match against each other, babyface versus babyface, in the finals of the King of the Ring tournament earlier this year. So we've already fucking gotten the match. Why do we have to hold off on Punk and LA Knight until later on? If that's even the reason. That might not even be the reason. We may never even get Punk versus LA Knight. That might just be something I am possibly giving them credit for as to why they did not do him versus Punk at Saturday night's main event. That may not even be the case. They probably realistically don't even give a shit about LA Knight, and we're not going to get that feud or that match. So stupid me for even thinking that, I guess. Let me backtrack a little bit there. Let's see. Millennial Noob, what's going on, brother? I am doing well. Thanks for asking. Johnny said, the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express was my match of the night. It may have been. It was a great match. I think the better match may have been the tag title match, Bro Dito versus Takeshita and Okada, unsurprisingly, because all four guys are great. That may have been the match of the night to me. There were a lot of great matches. Both of the or all they actually had three really good women's matches. I think I enjoyed Hayter versus Tekla the most. Storm and Statlander had a really good match, but I don't know. I enjoyed the match, but the crowd was kind of quiet. The crowd was kind of dead by that point. Same thing for Monet and Shirakawa, which we've already seen before anyway. I don't give a fuck about that match. I didn't care about that at all. But I did like Hayter versus Tekla. I don't remember what the opening match was. That might have been the opening match. I think the first actual match was Jet Speed versus FTR. But to me, the best match of the night was the tag team title match. I enjoyed that, I think, the most. But that was also a great match, though, between the Bucks and Jurassic Express. Give me Backshot Solomonster, the best username in the game. What's going on, my man? He said, after Tiffany gets done with the Julia feud, Jade will congratulate Tiffany, then turn heel on her. Jade finally wins the title in their next match. Yeah, I could see that. I just feel like we've been getting Tiffany and Jade for so long now. I just don't think people really even care. I mean, they've been feuding as babyfaces for so fucking long. Even turning Jade, like if you were going to turn Jade, you should have turned her after SummerSlam 2.5 months ago. Like, I have no interest in seeing them continuing to feud, even if you switch one of them heel. I know you've been not prolonging this, you've been lobbying for one of them to go heel recently. I would turn Jade heel personally. I would turn Jade, and you're saying the same. You would have Jade turn heel and then win the championship from her. We just need fresh faces in the title picture in general. Julia's a nice step, but she's not winning that championship, and she's also doing nothing as Women's United States champion. That whole division is a fucking mess. I don't know if they're waiting for Bianca to be cleared, which may not be anytime soon anyway. I mean, she injured a couple of fingers, and she's been gone for 6 months. It's just a fucking mess with the women on SmackDown right now. Fernando said, what are your lows and highs? Or rather, just highs, I guess, of Wrestle... Oh, no, he asked both. What are the highs and lows of Wrestle Dream this weekend? No real lows. I mean, I don't like the plunder, but Darby and Moxley, I mean, they delivered on the stipulation. Yeah, I quit match with the plunder, which is exactly what I expected. The only thing I was really surprised about in that match, aside from Sting returning, which was cool, that was one of my favorite parts of the night, because I don't think we've seen him since he retired at Revolution last year. But anyway, I think the match itself, I get why people enjoyed it. It was like an attraction, whatever the fuck. That wasn't really in my highs or lows. But Sting coming back was cool. Monet and Shirakawa, the match was fine. The crowd got into it by the end, but it's like we've already seen this match. Shirakawa was not winning, and Monet winning an 11th championship. Again, who gives a shit? Who cares? Who cares? Who gives a fuck? And now we're getting Monet and Statlander, which should be a great match. But again, what's the end game here? Is Monet winning a 13th belt and beating Chris Statlander for her championship only after a month or two? That's fucking bullshit. I don't want to see that. And Statlander beating Monet doesn't really accomplish anything. She's finally beaten her, sure, but why not hold off on that match until later on? Why not have Monet just defend her championship in a real feud? When was the last real Mercedes Monet feud that got you interested over the TBS championship? She defends the championship a lot, but she doesn't really have a whole lot of great feuds for it. And it's not really like the Sami Zayn thing where he's defending it weekly. She's not defending it weekly. She defends it like once or twice a month, which is great. But like the Riho feud, I didn't give a fuck about that. She feuded with Tony, but it wasn't over her championship. Like she feuded, I think, with Shirakawa. Kind of. Not really. Not Jamie Hitter. Alex Windsor. That feud was fine. It wasn't great. We haven't really seen Windsor on TV since. So, anyway, I thought Brodito, Okada, and Takeshita was the best part of the show. There were a lot of fucking matches. One of the low points, the excessive length of these shows. The runtime is just way too long. Way too fucking long. But that's nothing new. That's been the case with these shows forever. So, it's not really a new complaint. But the overall show I did think was great. Fernando agreed that Brodito versus Okada and Takeshita was the match of the night and one of the top 5 best tag team matches of the year. Yeah, I mean, I would also put the 2 TLC matches in there from WWE. The one after WrestleMania on SmackDown and the one from SummerSlam. Both were fantastic matches. And 2 of my favorite matches of the year specifically, that first one. But those to me would be, 3 of the top tag team matches of the year. I'm not really sure what else would be in that category. I liked Okada or FTR versus Cope and Christian at All Out, I think it would have been. I don't think it's top 5 of the year, but it was a good match. I'm sure FTR had other matches that would be in that category, but yeah, those would be my top 3 as of right now. My favorite I Quit match I've ever seen from Fernando. Not my favorite I Quit match from Fernando, but the question was asked by Fernando just for clarity. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Maybe Matt and Jeff. I think we've answered this question before. I think Arjun answered this not too long ago. Matt and Jeff had one on SmackDown in 2009. No, not on SmackDown. They had a stretcher match on SmackDown in the second match of their feud. They had an I Quit match at Backlash. So probably that one. I like that match. It's not like the best I Quit match ever. That one's good. John Cena had a lot of them. I don't know if any of those would be my favorite, but he had a lot of them. The John Cena JBL one is a great one. I think from Judgment Day, I want to say in 2005. Rock and Mankind is kind of just uncomfortable to watch. But my favorite might be Matt and Jeff. I ranked them years ago in an article, I think for What Culture. I'd have to go back and read it, but my favorite one might be Matt and Jeff. I'm sure there's another one I'm not thinking of, though. Johnny said his favorite AJ Styles title wins include AJ becoming the first ever X Division champion. That would have been, I think, 2002. His second one, first time WWE title. Third one, first time NWA championship. 4, first time he won the IWGP championship. And 5, second time he won the WWE title. All good picks. Fernando said, should Mercedes win the Women's World Championship on Dynamite? Absolutely fucking not. And I don't think they're doing it on Dynamite. I think it's at Full Gear. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're saving that match for Full Gear. I have no issue with Mercedes eventually winning the AEW Women's World Championship. But what's the end game here? Is she going to hold the TBS and the Women's World title simultaneously? Is she going to defend both belts simultaneously? What does she do with the other fucking dozen belts that she has that really mean nothing, that she carries around as paperweights, really just for the look of it? That mean, again, it doesn't make her any better to me. Like, it's cool she's giving these promotions a boost. They are benefiting from it. And to my knowledge, someone told me, and I looked at the records and stats and whatever, she is defending all of these championships. That's great. But on AEW television, it doesn't really make me more interested in her as a character. I don't really give a fuck, to be honest with you, about Mercedes Moné as a character. She's a great wrestler having some awesome matches. But as a character, her promos, I don't give a fuck about those. They're not even really that good anyway. So, no, her winning the Women's World Championship, what does that accomplish? It does damage the Statlander, who just won the championship finally a month ago. Why would you interrupt that? Just to have her lose it to Moné, who does not need it. She should lose the TBS championship first and then win the Women's World Championship down the road. To put all your eggs in one basket is very dumb to me. Emmanuel A., what's going on, brother? He said he is here for a bit. Johnny said, I hardly watch WWE and NXT, mostly watch AEW. Interesting. Richie said, I might be in the minority. Richie, what's going on, my man? But he said, I might be in the minority, but Wrestle Dream might have been AEW's most tame show in terms of violence. For an I Quit match featuring 2 lunatics, they sure did not go as extreme as I thought they would. But hello, everyone. To my knowledge, because they were in St. Louis, I think Solomonster actually may have mentioned this, they have certain restrictions on blood there. I guess not on fucking skewers under the fingernails, but I think there was some blood, but not as much as you would expect. And I think that's because of where the show was. Usually you would associate both guys with blood. Darby with dumbass spots. Jon Moxley with blood. It was tame compared to other matches those two guys have had. But we just see so much of it. It just doesn't really mean anything to me at this point. It was tame, but some of the shit they did in that match, specifically the fingernail thing, just fucking bothered me. That bothered me. Everything else, I mean, him jumping through, being chucked through a commentary table, 1, I didn't care, and 2, if I did, I'd be a hypocrite, because they literally did the same thing in WWE with Javon Evans and Obafemi a couple of months ago. That was no different. But still, some of the shit that AEW does is a bit over the top. We'll talk about that again in more detail in a little bit when we answer that question. Emmanuel said, saw someone mention the WWE AI report, though what's crazy about it is the report saying it's because Triple H is busy getting involved in politics. I mean, that whole sentence is wild, and I don't think any of it is inaccurate. I don't think AI, I think that's an over-exaggeration. I'm not defending the company. I'm just going off of what's been reported. I don't think they're relying on AI because Triple H isn't there. I think those are 2 totally separate issues. I think they were using AI for small things. They could use it to fucking write storylines, and again, excuse me, based on some of the shit that we have gotten on this show, on these shows from WWE this year, I would not be entirely shocked. But I don't think them using AI has anything to do with Triple H doing more politics. I mean, he definitely is doing more politics shit, which is comical because that was the whole thing with Vince. A lot of people complained about, like, oh, his full focus isn't on the company, and that's why it's tanking, and he's kind of has too many his hands in too many fires, or whatever the fucking expression is. And Triple H was at one point fully invested in WWE, but now he's doing like the politics thing and helping out Robert Kennedy Jr., whatever the fuck it is. Like, who gives a shit? Keep that. I mean, don't even put it on the show. Like, I know they're involved in the White House, and you might argue, oh, why wouldn't you want to promote that on your show? I don't know. It's very polarizing. I wouldn't even bother. I'm not even a fan of it, but even if I was, I would still say, let's not show this shit on their show. Politics, I mean, a lot of people watch wrestling and entertainment in general to escape that bullshit. So please do not get it involved in the product. And they've, like, leaned into politics before. I mean, lest we forget the dumbass Obama versus Clinton match they did on Raw all those years ago, which was terrible. That was one of the first Raws I ever saw, actually. They would encourage people to vote. Encouraging people to vote is one thing, and then promoting this fucking program that should be all about, like, good health or whatever it is from Trump and his goons. I don't know, man. I just wouldn't really dip your toes into that water if I'm WWE. And bringing it up on your shows, and, oh, look at Triple H at the White House. It's like, I mean, I think it's more of a turnoff for a lot of people than anything else, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, let's see. Backtracking a little bit here. Fernando said, spare me with the what about kids crap. I was, me and my friends were watching Dusty and Flair bleed all the time when I was 8 years old. There you go. Johnny said, some of Tony Storm and Mina's promos and moves are mature-rated stuff. That is correct. That's exactly what I was referring to earlier. Among other things, AEW has done with the women. And WWE too, but mostly AEW. And I'm not even talking about, like, for anyone curious, just to kind of clear this up out of the gate before anyone assumes anything. And we're not talking about, like, Tony and Mina, like, kissing each other. I'm not talking about that. Like, that, I mean, who gives a shit about that? I mean, that's not, like, immature to me. Like, a kiss is a kiss. I'm talking about some of the other things that they've alluded to and just outright said. I don't know. The WWE doesn't nearly do as much of on their shows as far as emphasize. Not even like clothing. I'm not even talking like their attire. I'm talking like things they have said. Tony Storm talking. I mean, I guess shaving bushes is a nice PSA. But her out there, you know, mentioning tits all the time. I don't know. If I'm a fucking father or a mother, I would not have my kid watch that show. But again, that's, hey, they have family-friendly prices, though, so ticket prices, so there's that. Millennial Noob said AEW should have left all that nonsense to GCW. I agree. Fernando said, has LA Knight reached his ceiling? Has he reached the ceiling of what he can accomplish? No. Has he reached his ceiling in terms of how WWE will probably book him? I think so. I mean, if he hasn't won a world championship at this point and hasn't even really come close, like he was a part of a four-way at Clash in Paris, and that's really about it. He got one world title shot on Raw 2.5 months ago. He did not win on Raw last night. I have no idea where they're going with him, unless he wins the Rumble, which is possible. It looks like they just do not have any interest in pushing him beyond a certain level, and that's very disappointing. So the answer might be yes. How would I feel about Chris versus Monet 3 at Full Gear? Like I said, I think it is at Full Gear. I don't think it's on Dynamite. So I think the match will be great. I might be at that show. I want to see that match in person. I think it's a lose-lose. Because, like, if Monet loses again, and her championship isn't on the line, that's stupid. Monet winning Chris's championship is even worse. So Chris finally beating Monet would be great, but I would have just saved that until after Monet drops her TBS championship, which should be imminent, but no one has really been built up for that spot. That's part of the problem. Johnny said, Rikishi wants to see CM Punk versus Jey Uso. Yeah, that's one person. Do I think Cody is turning heel next year? No, I don't, Nathaniel, but it's possible. We are closer to it happening than not. I still would wait at least maybe a year or two. I mean, I say a year, and a year from now would be 2026, and technically you would not be wrong when you say would he be turning heel next year, because that's October of next year. I don't think he does. I think they're still in the phase of having him be the face of the company, and he's still only, not scratched the surface, but like, he's only been in this role for about a year or two. Give it a little bit longer, and I think it would mean more if you held off on it, because it's not like he's being completely booed in every arena he goes into, like a la Roman Reigns or John Cena. he gets some boos, and some arenas it's more overwhelming than others, but by and large, he's not being overwhelmingly booed. I would hold off on that until a little bit later down the road, and not in 2026. But anything can change in a year. Richie said, Zach said first, National Pumpkin Cheesecake Day. Thank you, Zach, for that. Richie said, that's an insanely diabolical username, takes the cake over Chris Faplander. That is also a great username. Our friend Chris Faplander also pops in from time to time here in the chats. Always great to see him. Fernando said, I highly recommend the Block Phone 2. I liked it as well. I enjoyed the movie. I actually liked the movie more than the first one. I did a review for it on Letterboxd. The first one I gave 3. I thought that was good but underwhelming, just considering what I thought the concept could be. And then the second one, I didn't really have high hopes for. I had seen some conflicting reports as to whether it was good or bad from certain people, and I actually liked it. Alexis loved it, and it was a good movie. So yeah, I would recommend it too. Watch the first one and then the second one, but I think it's better than the first one. Zork, what's going on? He said, where do you go? Where do they go with Seth Rollins when he comes back? How can he do anything but feud with Breakker and Reed or Roman? I know Roman and Rollins was the original plan for WrestleMania. Even that at this point, I mean, it would make sense, but like, how does he come back and not go after his championship or Breakker and Reed? You're going to have to pivot. You're going to have to pull a rock pivot and not have him go after Roman. Because if you do, then it's like, why would he not be concerned with the former vision, the people that turned on him, Heyman too, and the championship that he was not beaten for? You know, so Rollins and Roman at Mania one-on-one would be great. I just don't know how you get there. I guess he could come back and completely ignore the vision shit and say, I'll deal with them after I deal with you first, because you're the one that's really, like, I would not have needed my own vision if I didn't hate you so fucking much. So I don't know. Maybe that's where they're going with it. I'm not sure. Johnny said, Sting came out after the Darby versus Jack Perry coffin match at All In last year. Did he? I have no recollection of that at all. I have no recollection of that. I thought he may have, like, I was hoping he'd be there, but he wasn't actually there. I do not remember that at all. Was that last year? I guess it was last year. I know he was at All In the year before. I do not remember him being there last year. Maybe he came out to the WCW song again. I have no fucking clue. Emmanuel A., he said, may or not be breaking news, but I just saw that Warner Brothers Discovery is putting itself on sale, and HBO Max hiked up subscription prices today. I mean, that last part is hardly fucking surprising. Every service is. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But, like, I think I tweeted this a couple of weeks ago. Disney Plus, just fucking Disney Plus. I mean, that's really, I mean, I'm not saying I don't care about the other ones. I do watch shit on Netflix, Raw, obviously, and HBO Max and all these other services. Prime, Hulu, whatever. Disney Plus alone was, I think, $6 or $7, ad-free. No ads. This was like for the first few years. It was $7, all on its own. And I know now you can get it for like $10 with Hulu. I don't give really a fuck about that stuff. I only had Hulu originally. I have it. I just have it now because it's part of the bundle I have. But this is going to sound dumb. I only had Hulu for the longest time to watch Main Event because that was the only place where it would air here in the States. And now I have no use for it anymore, but it's part of my Disney Plus bundle, so whatever. But Disney Plus alone was like $7. The network was $9.99. And now Peacock is fucking $9.99 with commercials and a lot less content. It's garbage, man. I mean, we are getting closer and closer to a point where we're just going to have to get cable back. I mean, a lot of people still have cable. I still have cable, but I'm just saying, like, a wide majority of people do not. And we're going to reach a point where everyone just goes back to that. It's going to blow up. It's going to blow up inevitably. The whole HBO or the Warner Brothers Discovery thing, putting itself on sale, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's a new thing. That might be breaking news. And I haven't been on Twitter in a few hours, but interesting. We'll see how it affects AEW. I don't really think anything happens to them in the interim, if at all. But it is an interesting story for sure. Zork said, do you think Charlotte will eventually get her Rhea respect, much how Kurt Angle gets his Kidman respect? Interesting. I don't know what Kidman has to do with anything, but are you talking about, like, will Charlotte eventually get the respect that people have for Rhea? Is that even a real sentence? I have no idea what you're talking about, but Charlotte, I mean, we've already kind of reached a point where people have started to respect Charlotte. If she was put back in the main championship picture tomorrow, people would fucking hate it. But I mean, as all things, a lot like John Cena, people eventually came to unanimously cheer John Cena. Now, he's more likable than Charlotte, but Charlotte will reach a point where she is like almost like nostalgic for a lot of people for the Divas days or the women's division days of 10 years ago. And she'll be a legend and she'll be on her way out and she'll be treated like a legend. I mean, she kind of already is, but if that's what you're talking about, I think everyone, if you're a big enough star, will reach that point at some point. Anyway, Fernando said, I thought I heard Staten Mercedes was this week on Dynamite. I'm pretty sure it said Full Gear, like I said, but I'm not sure. Is Dom getting kicked out of Judgment Day soon? He should be, but they might be waiting for Liv Morgan to come back. I don't know how close she is to returning. I've heard no updates. Maybe she'll be back soon. I don't know. How soon do I think we'll see AJ Lee again? Hopefully imminently. I mean, I thought she'd be back after Crown Jewel because she fucking beat Becky Lynch at WrestlePalooza. Why would she wait months on end to come back? Now, I know Becky's doing the Maxine Dupree thing in the meantime, and that's fine. They've actually made a nice little program out of it, a little bit better than I thought it would be. The matches have been far better than I expected them to be. But storyline-wise, why would she beat Becky and then go home? It's not like Becky attacked her or she was written off the show for any real reason. So I don't know. I just thought that was weird. I mean, maybe she is on a fucking part-time deal and not a full-time deal like was originally reported. I'm not sure. So hopefully soon. I don't think they're waiting until Mania to do Becky and AJ. That would be ridiculous. We literally just got them in the ring together a month ago. Why would they wait another 5 or 6 months to rekindle that rivalry? That would just be stupid. So I would say Survivor Series. I would do it at Survivor Series. And we have another month plus to go until that, so we'll see. Zork said he turned away from the skewer. I thought the skewer thing was fucking gross. It was one thing for, like, Moxley to have the skewer sticking out of his head a few years ago. That was dumb, but it didn't, like, make me, like, grossed out. The fingernail thing is gross. That's like using a skewer to, like, poke someone in the eyeball, which they're not going to do because that's far more dangerous, obviously. That shit, like, I don't know. Just me. Maybe I'm just a fucking baby, but I just feel like there should be a limit for some of the shit they do on their pay-per-views. And it's pay-per-view. I mean, it's like, it's not television. They wouldn't do that shit on television, but they've also done some pretty dumb shit on TV, too. I just feel like it's a turnoff for a lot of people, and AEW would rather focus, and Tony Khan specifically, would rather focus on the sickos that enjoy it. Like, when he calls them sickos, they really are some sick people. I'm not saying you're a sicko if you enjoy that, but, like, if that's your main reason for watching the company over AEW, then I feel like that's a real niche audience. Grunt said, which championship has had the best debut match? Example, Owen versus Bulldog for the European title, Edge and Mysterio for the WWE tag titles. Edge and Mysterio versus what? Angle and Benoit? I think that's the match you're talking about. Benoit versus Eddie for the US title, Jericho and Hangman for the AEW title, etc. I have no idea. Maybe Pat Patterson's Intercontinental Championship International Tournament. In all seriousness, I have, again, no clue. Probably one of the matches that you mentioned. I think I've gone back and watched Edge and Mysterio versus Angle and Benoit a few times. That's an amazing match. If that's the one you're talking about from No Mercy 02, maybe that one. Maybe that one. I'm also thinking of other great matches in recent years that crowned inaugural champions. Rollins and AJ Styles fought for the new World Heavyweight Championship, and they brought that in. That was a great match, not like the greatest of all time, but they had a great match over that title a few years ago. Here's another one for you, actually. Not the best, but also in the conversation, to crown the inaugural WWE Women's Champion, which they already had years earlier, I know, but when they brought it back in 2016 with Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky at Mania 32, massive stage, great match. I would put that in the conversation as well. Should Cody have won the match and Seth is hurt at Crown Jewel? No, I think the story was that, I would have been fine if Cody won. And yeah, I mean, but the thing is, it's not like, oh, they didn't know Cody or Seth was going to get hurt. It's not like Seth is hurt going into the match and they had him win anyway. He got hurt during the fucking match. Now, they didn't know how serious the injury was either. They may not have even known he was injured until after it was over. So what are you suggesting? Like they pull in Audible and have Cody win? No. In retrospect, should Cody have won? No, I think it's fine. The whole story was that Rollins had never beaten Cody on his own, never beaten him at all, and he finally beat him. I mean, they were going to tell that story at some point anyway. I think I would have waited until after they turned Cody heel, and then maybe Rollins was a babyface again. You don't know when you'll get that opportunity. It might be another in another 2 or 3, 4 years. So the fact they did that does not bother me. So the outcome was kind of irrelevant as far as like, oh, it doesn't really damage Cody. It's completely fine. So Seth winning was okay. It's another accolade for him too, because Cody won the fucking pointless men's Crown Jewel Championship last year. Zorik also said, don't sleep on LA Knight. Triple H told us in frickin' 2023, good things come to those who wait. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm still waiting on a lot of things from this company, but good things come to those who wait, which I do agree with, but like there comes a certain point where it's like, okay, now you're just fucking dangling the carrot in front of our faces because you're not actually going to push the guy. Do I have any guesses as to who took out Jacob? Fernando said. Yes, I wrote about this on Bleacher the other day, but I have 3 guesses, and they're not really hot takes, but one is Drew McIntyre, which I probably would not do, because if it was Drew, who he was already feuding with, why not just say it was Drew? Why would you blame Drew when he would say no? Kind of stupid. So Drew is still an option, though. You have Cody if he goes heel. I think Jacob will be back on the Sooner side. But even if he's back until early next year, Cody's not turning heel at that point. I wouldn't turn him heel at that point, personally, unless something drastically changes between now and then. Cody would be interesting because it's like he didn't want to face Jacob, knowing he's a threat more than Drew, I guess. But Cody's still an option. I would not do it. To me, the best option at this current point in time is Randy Orton, because you could do a second generational feud between the two. You know, they both come from wrestling families. The match would be great. We've never seen them one-on-one before. They did interact in a few tag team matches last year, but never one-on-one. And I think that'd be a great match, and it could also elevate Jacob Fatu to main event stardom. So I think my guess is Orton. You can blame Orton for attacking Jacob, and then when Jacob comes back, you do them at WrestleMania. And that can be the Mania match. If you're not doing Cody and Orton at Mania, which they, at this point, will probably do it before then if I had to take a guess, we could do Fatu and Orton at Mania, which would be a great match. So I'm going to go Randy Orton. Grunt said, let me backtrack a little bit here. Seems like every time they want to do Rollins-Roman one-on-one, at Mania, Seth gets hurt. Well, look at it this way. This is really interesting. So, actually, it's not just Seth. Think about this, okay? They were going to have a match at Night of Champions in 2014. For whatever reason, they had a match on Raw the week before. I have no fucking clue why. And Roman won clean, which was really weird. Roman, I don't think he got hurt. He had like a hernia issue or something like that. He may have gotten hurt. I don't know. Or he was sick or something like that. So they did not end up doing Roman and Seth. They did not end up doing Roman and Seth in 2014 at the pay-per-view because Roman got hurt. And they held off on the match for a while because Roman wasn't back until December. Fast forward a year, literally almost exactly a decade ago. Okay? Roman becomes number 1 contender of the WWE Championship at Hell in the Cell. I think it was a year ago next week. A decade ago next week. Roman becomes number 1 contender to face Seth at Survivor Series. Seth gets hurt that weekend, so they can't do Roman and Seth at Survivor Series. This is like an ongoing thing where, I mean, they've done the match multiple times since then. They've had a lot of matches. It's not like they've never had a match. But it is interesting, anytime they've feuded in 2014, 2015, you know, they had a few different matches in 2016, and Rollins wasn't hurt during those, but they did have a match in Money in the Bank in 2016 that Rollins, I think, won clean because Roman got suspended due to the wellness policy. So something seems to always happen anytime these two are destined to go one-on-one, and plans constantly change, and this time is no different. It's very interesting. Grunt said, good things come to those who wait, for others to get injured. That is very true. Mox barely took any pain, and he quit. Are we serious? I mean, we've seen far worse. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he said I quit to a fucking, Scorpion Deathlock, thematically is cool because that's Sting's move, but like as far as the punishment he was put through for that to force him to tap out was kind of dumb. I know he was laying on glass, but it's like he's not going to tap out because he's laying on glass. If Darby was sticking the glass in his leg, then maybe. But that's different. Grunt said, long live physical media, DVDs and Blu-rays are king. I agree. I have kept all of my DVDs. I've gotten rid of quite a few, but I still have a fuck ton left over, so I completely agree with that, including a lot of old pay-per-views that I can watch commercial-free if I fucking want to, and not on Peacock with all these dumbass ads and pay a fortune. You're not paying a fortune for ad-free on Peacock, but it's so fucking unnecessary when I just own it and I can watch it whenever I want. Fernando said, I still have cable and I'm very proud of it. Zorik said, do we think Maven would get a reaction in the Rumble? That's a good question because I thought about that. Just to hear that fucking music again would be awesome. But Maven was such an afterthought in this company over 2 decades ago. Would people really care? Like, it's not like Carlito when he came back. Because Carlito, look, was a regular character and far more over and successful than Maven ever was. Maven went Tough Enough. He was on Raw for a few years. No one really gave a shit. And he's been gone ever since. Now, he is popular outside of WWE with the internet audience and these videos. I think you'd get a good enough reaction. In Saudi Arabia, probably not. I don't think Saudi Arabia would remember or give a fuck. Would I think it's cool? Yes. Just to hear that theme song, if nothing else. What do I think is going on with Jacob? Do I think he failed the test? No. He legitimately had a dental procedure done. That's why I think they did the teeth on the ground thing on SmackDown. I don't know what dental procedure he needs done, but it seems like it's a non-wrestling related injury or incident or whatever, and that's why he'll be out for a little bit. Hopefully not too long per the latest report. I think AJ beats Becky, Nathaniel said. I agree. I do think AJ beats Becky when we get the match, but they have to fucking have the match first. Grunt said, shit, yeah, I was talking about No Mercy. O2 forgot that angle. Benoit somehow is still waking up, I guess. Well, good morning, Grunt, if you're still waking up. But yes, it was that No Mercy O2, angle Benoit. I mean, WWE forgot Benoit too, so you forgetting about him in that match is, I guess it's fitting. Johnny said, who should win between the Hurt Syndicate and the Ops this Wednesday? I would have the Hurt Syndicate win the tag titles. The Ops just turned heel, and that's great. Take the Trios titles off of the Ops. They've been champions since like fucking April. They've really done nothing with those belts. They've had a fine run, but like, I don't know. I would much rather just see, I don't know. I would much rather see Hurt Syndicate, who are on the shows consistently anyway. Just put the tag titles on them. They already were the World Tag Team Champions. If you're not going to push Bobby on his own anytime soon, just give him the fucking Trios titles. And Hangman should cost them the Trios titles. The Ops, that is. Because he hates the Ops after what they did to him, so why would he not cost them the championships on Wednesday? It just makes sense. Fernando said, are Aleister Black and Zelina Vega doing pretty much the same thing Cross and Scarlett were doing? Yeah. Except it's a bit fresher because we haven't seen it. Cross and Scarlett they did for a few years and it never really took off. They might seemingly be, it looks like they're more behind Aleister Black than they ever were carrying Cross. It's basically copy and paste, but I like the pairing nonetheless. I think Rikishi did it and he did it for The Rock, Richie said. You might not be wrong on that. That is true. Zork also said, I saw Jacob versus Cody as a dark main event in Philly last year. I think I heard about that. Did they not have a no DQ match or something like that? Fernando said, will Cody be remembered as better than his dad, Dusty Rhodes, whenever he retires? That's a good question. I don't think so, because Cody's been very successful. Cody is great. I think just objectively, Dusty was better. I mean, just because he was involved in so many classic matches and so many classic promos. And Cody's also had some classic matches in the time that he's been wrestling. I mean, who are we asking here? Are we asking like the fucking 6, 7, 12-year-olds of today? Like those kids would say, Cody Rhodes is obviously better. Who's this fat guy, Dusty Rhodes? But if I'm asking almost anyone watching right now or anyone that's been watching wrestling for any real length of time, they would say Dusty Rhodes, and logically so. Because, excuse me, another thing is, there's a lot of great, Cody Rhodes is great, but he fits a mold that a lot of other people do. Dusty did not. He was almost like really a one-of-a-kind competitor, but like he came along at a time where a lot of people did not look like him. And granted, he never won the world championship in WWE. He did have success in WWE, but not nearly as much as he did in WCW. But he was also super multifaceted. It's way too early to have that conversation about Dusty about Cody, because with Dusty, he was super successful in the ring. On the mic, he's one of the greatest of all time. Would I call Cody one of the greatest of all time on the mic? No, I would not. He's a great talker. Is he one of the greatest of all time? He's not. Dusty was. He was very good in the ring, involved in a lot of classic matches, spawned multiple promotions, as Cody did, but he also was a fucking booker. I mean, not always a great booker, but he had a legacy as a booker in WCW, and he also had a legacy as far as training talent, the next generation in NXT. Now, we did that up until the day he died. Now, I don't think we can have this conversation when Cody retires. I think we have this conversation when he's dead, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe Cody will surpass his father. He had far more success in WWE than he ever did. But as far as being better, I would probably still go Dusty. Good question, though. Grunt said, sickos on Blue Sky seem to think that Moxley giving up so easily is going to play into the Death Riders kicking him out of the group. What are your thoughts? I didn't get that sense at all. I think that'd be stupid. I mean, listen, I don't give a fuck about the Death Riders. We all know this, Grunt. We've talked about this. What is the point of having a Death Riders group if you don't have the Death Rider in the group? That's just stupid. That's just dumb. I mean, the group is bad as it is. Getting Moxley out of it doesn't make it any better. They just clearly... Who's going to be the new leader? Wheeler Yuta? I mean, sure as fuck won't be Claudio. I mean, I love Claudio, but he's not really a leader. Pac is not a leader. For a group like... It would make the group even worse, to be honest with you. So, I don't think that's the case, but if it was, I would think that's stupid. What are we going to get? Moxley versus Claudio? Like, we've seen all of those matches. We've seen... If Moxley feuds with his own group... What matches would we get out of it? Think about it. Moxley and Garcia, we've already seen a million times. We just saw that twice, like recently. Moxley and Claudio, I'm sure we saw not that long ago, a few years ago. They've definitely done the match in AEW before. I could be wrong. But like a full-on program with those two doesn't really do a whole lot for me beyond just one match. Him and Pac, we've seen a number of times. Him and Yuta, we've seen a number of times, and I also don't give a shit. Him and fucking who? Marina Shafir? Like, come on. No thanks. Nathaniel said, Jacob is a future world champion, in my opinion. Do you agree? Yes, he is. I would agree with that. Is NXT keeping me fed? Zorik asks. It's not necessarily keeping me fed. I am enjoying it. There's certainly flaws with the working relationship the two companies have, but overall I'm enjoying it. Is it feeding families, as they say? No, but I am enjoying it for what it is. I do think both brands are benefiting from it. I will say that. Who will have a dark side of the ring in 10 years? I don't know. Tessa Blanchard, Velveteen Dream, the Speaking Out movement of 2020, probably before then. Just Incredible. I mean, there's any number of people, honestly, you could choose. Who's like a fucking dark story from the last few years that really sabotaged their career? There's a name I'm not thinking of. Maybe you guys can like remind me, but there's definitely like a recent person that is just like fucking toxic. I don't know, not like Ryback or something like that. I'm not talking about Ryback. I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but yeah, any one of those people, I guess. Is it safe to say Cross now was not a work? Him leaving WWE? Yeah, I think it's safe to say that. I was convinced it was a work, so I was wrong. I thought they might have been doing it to make people think, like, oh, he's gone, and then when he shows up again, it's going to be so much better, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, it's going to be like this big shocking thing. He's been gone for so long, and the fans don't really seem to give a shit. So, yeah, it's certainly not a work. I saw parts of the video of what he posted yesterday. Do I think Ric Flair is the greatest heel ever? No. No, he would be in the conversation. Honestly, I would probably go with Vince McMahon. I know, like, other people have said that. I mean, in real life too, but specifically from a storyline standpoint, I might go Vince. Flair is up there though. I think Flair might have been just too cool because I think like Vince, there was nothing really cool about him being a fucking asshole. I mean, people did like Vince at certain points, but Flair had, he was kind of not a cool heel, but like he looked fucking awesome. So it's kind of hard to say him, but he is up there, I would say. He is up there. How did I feel when Shawn Michaels retired Rick? I literally just started watching. So I started watching my first full Raw like 2 weeks after Mania in 2008. So I really didn't have any thoughts on it because it happened before I started watching full time. But I will say this, I like the feud that stemmed from it that we got from Jericho and Michaels. And I mean, that's a very well-known great feud, but a very underrated rivalry during that period. And they had some very good matches. Batista and Shawn Michaels. That also stemmed from Shawn retiring Rick as Batista blamed Shawn for that. And from that is where we got Shawn and Jericho. So a lot of people forget about that. But that feud was great too. So didn't have any thoughts on the match itself. I think the match is great watching it back. Didn't have any thoughts on the time, but I did enjoy the Shawn and Batista feud when I was watching WWE back then. Fernando said, will Tessa's new bought and paid for chest make her more likable with the fans? I don't think so. I don't even think it's really noticeable. I mean, she was the one who came out and said, oh yeah, I had I got breast implants, whatever. I was at the show, not that I'm really looking there necessarily, but I don't really think it's that obvious. So I don't really think it's not like, oh, she got a breast implant. I'm a big fan of her work now. I don't really think anyone is thinking that. If you do, then more power to you. I don't think more people are really thinking that, to be honest with you. I don't really think it's going to make a difference as far as her perception from the audience. I will say for Tessa's sake, though, if she stays clean, and I'm not talking drug-wise, I'm talking like staying out of negativity and being on her best behavior. If she can stay on her best behavior and not get involved in any more controversy, that could overall, I mean, it's only been 10 months since she's been back in TNA, about a year maybe. That's going to help her long term. And I think so far she's done like she's put people over, haven't heard anything negative about her since she's been back. That will help her in the long term and maybe get her into WWE. Nathaniel said, I thought Shawn Michaels was going to beat Undertaker at WrestleMania 25, but I think it's the greatest single Mania match ever. I did not think Shawn was going to win, but I do agree it's probably the single greatest Mania match ever. Referring to today's youth as the 6'7" kids is hilarious. I mean that reference won't even make sense in 2 months probably because it will be so like it's such a fucking quick, fast and gone fad. But it's true. I was driving down the road the other day, and on Sunday, literally just driving down the road, I'll share this quick story. And these two kids are walking on the side of the road. And they were walking in my direction, so I'm driving, and they're walking on the side of the road this way. They have like a dog with them or something, and there's no parent. It's just these two kids, probably like, and I'm not going to say 6'7". They were maybe like, I don't know, 10 and 8. I don't know, probably like they weren't that old. They weren't teenagers. They were definitely younger, maybe like 12, 13 max. Okay, definitely younger than that. But they're walking in my direction on the side of the road, and all of a sudden, as I drive by them, they stop what they're doing. They were like fighting with each other, and then all of a sudden they stop what they're doing. And my brother did something similar to this when we were kids. Like we would, be on the side of the road, and he would go, suck it, like just do the DX hand motion. The new suck it, the new DX gesture is 6'7", 6'7". Like these kids fucking dropped what they were doing, did that at me as I was driving by, and then went back to walking. I was like, weird. I mean, it was funny because it was so fucking dumb. I'm thinking we're cooked as a generation. We are cooked as a society. But I had to share that. Mox leaving Death Riders would be even worse if that's possible. I agree. Is Marina future champion? I fucking hope not. I could see Shafir winning a title in Ring of Honor. She's just so fucking boring. I'm sorry. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon. I thought she sucked years ago. She's even worse. She's not worse now. She's better now. But she's still fucking boring. They found the right role for her, I guess. I mean, she's on TV in a regular role, but we don't see her wrestle consistently for a reason because she's not that good. Jonathan said, Bossman being hung by Taker, Foley thrown off a cell, the mass transit incident in ECW. In my opinion, wrestling in the 1990s was a lot more violent than what Moxley has been doing. Honestly, you're not really wrong by that. I mean, I think the Bossman being hung by Taker was fucking terrible. That was awful. And yes, Zork, I was referring to Matt Riddle. I was thinking there's definitely like someone from modern day that would belong on Dark Side of the Ring in 10 years. Matt Riddle is exactly who I was thinking of. Thank you. Joey Ryan. I don't even think Joey Ryan is important enough to warrant his own Dark Side of the Ring. He is just so forgotten about at this point. I don't even think he's a thought in the fans' minds to even... I would not have even remembered that man until you brought him up. I don't think most people would. So I don't think most people would to the point where they would recommend him as a future topic on Dark Side of the Ring, even in a decade from now. He's going to be a footnote in wrestling history. He'd be even lucky to be a footnote in wrestling history. Fernando said, Moxley getting kicked out of the Death Riders would make him the second Shield member to get booted out of his own faction. No, he would be the third, actually. Roman also got booted out of the Bloodline, if you remember. Like, he lost the championship, and Solo basically kicked him out of the Bloodline. Now, he did regain the Bloodline when he beat Solo in the Tribal Combat match. We didn't see a betrayal from Solo, but he basically did kick Roman out of the group. So, I think all three of them at that point would have been kicked out of their own stables. Oh, he said this year. Well, yeah, Roman wasn't kicked out of the Bloodline this year, but yeah, this year, yes. Grunt said, I think Jay White would be a good replacement leader, but we'd have to wait until he gets back first. Please keep Jay White the fuck away from the Death Riders. I think Jay White is awesome. Do not drag him down in the fucking Death Riders, please. I completely disagree. If you want to have him leading a faction like the Bullet Club or the Bang Bang Gang or whatever the fuck, cool. Making him the new leader of the Death Riders, I think, would be terrible. I don't think that would benefit him at all. I feel like that would drag him down if nothing else. Is Hunter not doing his due diligence with what? With research? With as a booker? I don't know what you mean by that. Who will be considered the second best Shield member, Moxley or Seth? So you're automatically just assuming Roman is the best one. I mean, as an overall performer, he's actually probably the weakest. I mean, this is such like a hot topic, because like, what are we even talking about? Like, most successful is Roman, second successful is Seth, and then third successful is Moxley, although Moxley's been very successful as the leader and face of his own company in AEW for the last, 6-7 years. I did not do that on purpose, I promise. But with Moxley, I mean, Moxley, I feel like, is really, in a certain way, regressed in AEW, because there's a lot of just fucking hardcore plunder. Like, he used to have some really, really good wrestling matches, and now we don't really see that as much. I would still say Seth is the overall best performer of the three, in my opinion, and then Roman and then Moxley. That would not have been what I said years ago, but that might be my new stance in 2025 at this point in time. Let's see. Who will be... I already read that. Do you wish Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25 main evented? Yes, that should have main evented. Triple H and Orton was not good. That match sucked. Zork said, someone please clip me doing the 6-7. Go ahead. I mean, it'll be held against me for sure. I have now been infected with the 6-7 disease. Should Darby win the AEW title? Yes. I do think he will, and I do think he should. When? I don't know, but at some point he should and will. Johnny said, Tony wants Marina to dethrone Chris Statlander for the Women's Championship at World's End. Absolutely fucking not. I will not be watching if that's the case. For Chris Statlander, I mean, I just complained about Mercedes Moné beating Chris. If Chris Statlander beat Mercedes Moné, who is probably the best all-around women's wrestler in that company, and one of the best wrestlers, period, in AEW, to then fucking lose to Marina Shafir, something is seriously wrong. Zorkstead, do I think in NXT, Shawn Michaels will continue to era the millennial? What does that mean? I don't know. Like, what, lead the millennials? I don't know what that means. Richie said, I have never heard of this 6-7 thing until just now. I looked it up and I hate it. Richie, I am shocked. It is all over the place. I don't know if I would say it's a Northeast thing, but we both live in Connecticut, so I don't know. I am shocked. Maybe you haven't spent or seen I'm not on fucking TikTok. I have seen it on South Park. I have seen people do it in person. I saw it at Bound for Glory. When they were counting out certain people, they'd be like 4, 5, 6, and then people in the crowd would go 6-7. I am shocked that you haven't heard of it. I've seen it on the fucking news. I have seen it everywhere. I've seen it from family members. I am shocked that you have not heard of it until just now. I am amazed. Zork said, do you think Jim Ross will get a dark side? No pun intended. If the racist allegations gain more steam. No, I don't think so. I know what you're talking about, though. I saw that Devon said something, but I'm not saying, I don't know him personally. I'm not saying Jim Ross did not do that stuff. I'm not denying what Devon said. But that's the first I've ever heard of it. And Jim Ross has been around for a long time. Why would no one else have like, Jim Ross may have said something dumb to Devon, but is he racist? I don't think he's racist. He may have said something racist, which was super bad, but is he a racist individual that affected multiple people? I don't know. I'm not really sure. Because it's not like there's a million stories out there about Jim Ross. If more stories come out about Jim Ross and stuff that he said in that vein, then yeah, it's going to be a problem. But if it's only Devon, and he didn't even name him by name, he kind of like referenced him, I think people will just kind of forget about it. Nathaniel said, Jay White would be a great world champion. I'm surprised they haven't given it to him. Injuries. The booking hasn't always been great with Jay White, but also part of it is injuries. Anytime he has gained steam, he has gotten hurt. Multiple times, and that sucks. Johnny said, Roman is the golden child, Seth is the workhorse, and John is the maniac. Yeah, I would say so. I definitely did not do the 6-7 on purpose, Zork. I did not do that. It's just ingrained in my brain at this point. I just have no choice but to say it, I guess. Are folks forgetting Cody fell into a flaming table in AEW that was worse than whatever we saw on Saturday? What are we talking about? Like, First of all, I disagree. The fingernail spot from Moxley and Allen, from Moxley and Darby, was definitely worse than the flaming table. We fucking see flaming tables not all the time, but like WWE has done it before. The flaming table in AEW from Cody was also very stupid. A lot of what Cody did in AEW fucking sucked. Post 2020, post TNT title reign, a lot of what Cody was doing for like late 2020 through early 2021 was absolute fucking dog shit. Absolute dog shit. And I would disagree. The flaming table thing he did in AEW was not worse than the fingernail spot they did on Saturday. That was disgusting. Flaming table was like, okay, whatever. Were Triple H and Randy did they ever have good matches in the ring? Yeah, they had good matches. Not all. I mean, they had a lot of boring matches. They didn't have great in-ring chemistry, but if I had to pinpoint like one really good match they had, One Night Stand, they had a good last man standing match in 2008. They had a good match on that show. The Bash, they had a 3 stages of hell match. I remember being decent. So those were good. A lot of their matches were pretty fucking boring, though, I will say. I did an article ranking every match they ever had a few years ago. And a lot of them, I'm like, oh, a lot of these just blend together because they just were not overly interesting at all. I wish we would have gone AJ versus Shawn Michaels, and Nathaniel said. I agree. I agree with that. That would have been an awesome match. Richie said, LOL, now watch. I'm going to start seeing it everywhere, and you're going to get a text from me crashing out. Listen, I think you may have already seen it, but you just didn't realize it because your brain was not registering it, Richie. So yes, I anticipate an inevitable crashing out text from you about having... And the 6-7 thing has been around since like the spring. I've first heard a family member of mine start doing it around that point. Like a younger kid that's in my family. But other than that, I didn't really see it start to take off until like in the last week or two. Now I see it like everywhere. I see it on the street, like I said. I heard it in public. Now it's a lot. It is spread like wildfire. Rank the success of the four horsewomen individually this year. Fernando said. Good question. We talking Ronda Rousey's 4 horsewomen? I kid. The WWE 4 horsewomen ranking their success this year. Becky is... I want to go Becky 1 because I've enjoyed her character a lot more. She actually has done more to reinvent herself than Mercedes. Mercedes has had better matches. That is difficult. I want to say Becky because I feel like a lot of what Becky has done has been great. And she's had great matches and also great promos and storylines. I'm going to go Becky number 1. A lot of Mercedes promos have just not been good. She's won all of her matches. Great. She's been booked. Great, sure. But her storylines aren't all that interesting for the TBS championship. And her character work has sucked and the promos aren't that good. So I'm going to go Becky 1, Mercedes 2. Charlotte 3. I mean, she kind of had a quiet resurgence alongside. She won the Rumble. I liked the Tiffany match in Mania. Some people didn't. That's fine. But then she started teaming with Alexa Bliss, and they've had great chemistry, and they won the tag titles at SummerSlam. So I'll go Charlotte 3 and Bayley 4. Bayley has not had a great year overall, but, she's bounced back and doing something more interesting now with the whole split personality shit and whatever. So there is that. Zork said, let's see, do I think Andrade will really be gone for a year? No. I don't think that stands. I don't think that holds. I think they're going to figure something out where they work their way around that because for him to not compete for an entire year and also not get paid by WWE is absolute garbage. I don't see that sticking at all. Johnny said, the best Triple H and Randy Orton matches usually have a stipulation. Yeah, they do. I mean, straight up matches between the two are not all that interesting. Their steel cage match from Judgment Day 08 is also pretty good. Richie said, I almost made it the entirety of 2025 without knowing about this, and I don't know how I feel. I'm sorry to ruin it for you. I apologize. Why did they drop Roxanne flirting with Dom? She's been flirting with Dom since she debuted on Raw as part of the Judgment Day a few months ago, so that's not a new thing. They're doing that because Liv's going to come back and act all jealous. That's why they're doing it. And I feel like that's a logical direction to go in. Richie said, Becky has had the more fleshed out career and character development of all the other women. I mean, in general, yes, but also just specifically this year. So that's why I go Becky number 1. Zork said, what's up with these ugly new throat tattoos? Talking about what, Dragunov? I think it looks better on him than it did fucking... I think Dom's looks stupid. I mean, I did see that. I think Dom's looks dumb. Cody's was stupid. Jack Gallagher got his whole fucking front body tattooed years ago, and then he turned out to be a weirdo, so he was kind of forgotten about. But Dragunov's, I think, looks the best. Of Cody's and Dom's and his, I think Dragunov's looks the best. They also would not tell him that to his face, that I didn't like it, out of fear that he would probably fucking murder me. Richie said, Bailey's been so incredibly boring for the last 4 or 5, 6 years. Not 6, 7 years. See, I can't help myself at this point. Charlotte has been the same since 2016, and Mercedes, despite how I feel, definitely has the second spot. I agree. Do I find the 4 horsewomen to be pretty? Or, no, petty. Not even pretty, petty. Why would they be petty? And he also asked, where is Oba? I think they're holding him off until... I mean, I read the report from Meltzer weeks ago that they were not going to rush him into the main roster. He was not finished in NXT. I think he's going to have a rematch with Ricky Saints, probably on the sooner side, maybe a deadline. I think they're going to wrap him up in NXT in the next few months and then put him on the main roster. I don't think he goes to the main roster before the year's over. I think we see him in the Royal Rumble after Mania. That's way too fucking long from now. That's over 6 months away. But I think he'll be in the Rumble and maybe debut there, a la Braun Breaker from 2 years ago. That's my bet. That's my guess. I didn't know Ilya and Gintala were a thing. Yeah, the former Leia Laurel from LFG and Dragunov confirmed they were dating this past week. After Dragunov returned on SmackDown, Leia Laurel, who just got released from WWE, had posted a picture of him and said, like, oh, I'm so glad you're back, and we had to keep this quiet, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they were dating. I mean, the PC needs to be studied, man. I mean, that's a whole fucking reality show in and of itself. There are people in the PC that dated other people, now they're dating this person's ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. They've all dated each other at one point or another, I'm sure. I am convinced of that. Brock is world heavyweight champion? Fuck no. Brock never needs to hold another world championship again. Will it happen? There's a chance. There's a pretty decent chance. Should it happen? Fuck no. Richie said, speaking of Ilya, I had the golden opportunity to go up to him and talk to him during Mania weekend last year in the Talon Hotel. We both locked eyes. He smiled at me and I started to approach, but I got cut off by some sweaty-ass Mark who forced a photo with him, and Ilya did the quickest 180 out of there. Man, that sucks. See, fucking Mark's ruining it for everyone else, man. That sucks. Ilya seems like a cool dude. Never met him. Never interviewed him. Would love to, though. He seems very chill. Big Dragunov fan here. Fernando said, who's had better matches? Randy versus Triple H, Randy versus Batista, or Triple H versus Batista? Great question. Easily Triple H and Batista. Those 3 matches were very good. I think the Mania match I really enjoy. That's one of my favorite Mania matches. Not like top 10, but like probably top 25. They had a great storyline. They had a very good Mania match. The Backlash match is underrated. And the Hell in a Cell match might be my favorite Hell in a Cell match. If not my favorite Hell in a Cell, one of my favorite Hell in a Cells of all time. Phenomenal match from Vengeance 05. And really made Batista a top star as well. Now, they did not have another match until 2019. I don't think. And that match wasn't great. But I didn't hate it as much as most. And it was a nice farewell for Batista. And that's all I really cared about. So, yeah, definitely Batista and Triple H. I would then probably go Randy and Batista at 2. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Randy and Batista did not have enough matches on pay-per-view to really, for me to tell you they had great chemistry. They had a few matches. Like, they had a match in Armageddon in 08. A few matches in 09 that were, like, decent. I remember more matches that Randy and Triple H had, so I'll go them at 2 and then Randy Batista at 3. Why did we get Brock and Cena? Because they probably wanted to have them run it back one more time before Cena retires, and that's really about it. Storyline-wise, it was never really explained. Brock and the Vision now, question mark? I'm going to say maybe still. I don't know if the Vision's even still a thing. They did not refer to them as the Vision on Monday, so I'm going to say no on that. And why is Michelle McCool so delusional? I don't think she's delusional, but I do think she makes for a poor co-host for Undertaker's podcast. I'll tell you that much. I don't know what you're referring to exactly, but I don't personally enjoy her on the Undertaker podcast. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to answer all these scheduled questions that were sent in ahead of time. This is typically the point in the show. We usually wait until a lot later, but I'll answer them now, get them out of the way. We'll go back to the chat, answer those questions, then head on out of here. So if you send in a chat, I will see it after I'm done answering the following scheduled questions. There's like 10 or 11 of them. We won't spend too long on them. Fresh Fly sent this in on YouTube. And like I said earlier, by the way, if you have a scheduled question or want a question scheduled, easy for me to say, to answer on a future episode of the show next week, whatever. Send them in the YouTube comments, not in the chat here, but like after the video is done. Facebook, Twitter, whatever, send them in there and I will answer them next week. Guaranteed whether you can join us live or not. But anyway, Freshfly asked this question on YouTube. He said, do you have a top 5 favorite movies for 2025? If so, what are your 5 favorite and 5 worst? Honestly, I'm not usually great with these sort of questions, but because I log everything I watch, like movie-wise and theaters specifically, and really just in general, unless it's a rewatch, on Letterboxd, I can go back. I went back in my Letterboxd account to see what I saw this year and what I thought of it. So I'm going to tell you my top 5 favorite movies and my top 5 worst or / least favorite movies I watched this year. And I think all of these were, and not watched, but like came out in theaters or came out on streaming. Okay? So 5, not best, but 5 favorites. The Accountant 2, I really enjoyed. That came out back in April. I love the first movie. I thought the second one was probably just as good as the first one. Lilo and Stitch was not like an amazing movie, but I'm such a Stitch mark. I enjoyed the experience. Seeing the experiments at one point as an Easter egg was fucking awesome. I'm very happy they're making a second one. I'm super on board with that. I enjoyed the movie. Was not amazing, but it was a good movie and I liked it. So that is at number 2. 3, Superman. Thought Superman was great. 4, Fantastic Four. Another excellent film. And 5, Ballerina. Very underrated. Thought Ballerina was great. We saw that when we went on vacation at Disney World back in June at the AMC in downtown Disney or whatever the fuck, Disney Springs. Loved it. Great movie. Really liked it. And then 2 runner-ups, 2 honorable mentions. Thunderbolts I thought was good. And Nobody 2. I thought the first one was better. Was significantly better. But the second one was good, though. Second one was good. So for 5 worst movies I saw this year, honorable mention to Jurassic World Rebirth. I thought that was fucking bored by most of it. Waste of a movie. Why are we making more fucking Jurassic World movies after the last trilogy was largely not great? That's an honorable mention. But 5 worst movies, 5 least favorite movies, whatever you want to call it, I saw this year. Prom Queen, I watched that recently on Netflix with Alexis. That movie was fucking terrible. It's as part of that 1984 or Fear Street. It's part of the Fear Street series they did a few years ago. Those 3 movies were good. I enjoyed those. They did a 4th installment for some reason this year, last year. It was fucking atrocious, and I have no idea why they did it. The movie sucked. 2, Megan 2.0. Didn't see it in theaters. Glad I didn't. The movie sucked. Watched that recently on Peacock. Lame, dumb, unnecessary. And the first one was a guilty pleasure. That one I enjoyed more than I thought, but the second one sucked. 3, Strangers Chapter 2. I saw the first chapter, so I thought I would continue watching it with Alexis's brother. That movie was fucking awful. The first one sucked. This one was shockingly worse. Really, really bad, boring movie. 4, I Know What You Did Last Summer. I enjoyed it because it was dumb fun for me. It was like one of those dumb movies, but I don't know why they remade this movie. It's a legacy sequel. It sucked. All over the place. A lot of shit that didn't make sense. Confusing, but I had fun watching it over SummerSlam weekend. And 5, a Minecraft movie. This was also fucking garbage. I did a review of this at the time when it came out many months ago. That movie was just mind-numbingly stupid. And I know it's like turned into a meme and whatnot. Okay, cool. It's funny. It's so dumb that it's funny, but the movie's still fucking... It sucked ass. That movie was terrible. Freshfly's second question, was Vince McMahon wrong for not passing down WWE to Shane and Stephanie? Was he wrong for not passing it down to them? Not necessarily. I mean, Stephanie still kind of runs the company now through Triple H, so I don't think she really gives a shit. Him not giving it to his son is very weird to me. I mean, that's been explored in his documentary because of the relationship they had. Like, Shane didn't really feel like he had his father's affection. He probably saw the writing on the wall that Vince was not going to give him the company. He was going to give it to Triple H instead. Why would he not give it to his actual son instead of Triple H? Now, I can't say WWE would be any better under Shane than it was under Vince at the end there or Triple H now, but it is very odd. So, yeah, it is kind of wrong, I guess, so to speak, that he didn't give it to Shane because that's his actual flesh and blood, and he was interested in wrestling, and he wanted to book it. He would have wanted to take over the company from his father, but Vince clearly had no intention of doing that for whatever reason. 3, what are your top 5 favorite storylines in WWE history? Good question. I don't know. I can tell you favorite matches and feuds and stuff like that, but like favorite storylines? I started watching in '08, so I won't include anything before that because I just don't have the same attachment to it. But like William Regal being the GM and the King of the Ring, I know that was a very short-lived storyline, but that's what got me into wrestling. So that was one of my favorite storylines. The Bloodline stuff in the last 5 years, and I mean, not really necessarily recently, but the Bloodline has been one of the best parts of WWE, if not the best part of WWE since 2020, so probably that one. And the Summer of Punk ended on an anticlimactic note in 2011, but overall was a great storyline that got me hooked. And I'll also probably throw in the Nexus. I liked the Nexus for most of it. Fell off a fucking cliff there after SummerSlam, but overall it was a lot of fun there in the summer of 2010. I just remembered that. And I'm sure there's plenty of other ones, but those are the main ones that come to mind. His next question: could Darby Allin could he make it to WWE and get over with the audience? Yeah, I think he would get over with the audience. If Darby, I mean, he obviously couldn't get away with half of the shit he does in AEW, but Darby has a certain charisma where he looks cool, he can work, he can do a lot of fucking wild spots. He can be like their Javon Evans. And Javon Evans is a bit more athletic. Darby is just a fucking... I mean, Mick Foley got over for other reasons too, but he also did a lot of dumb shit that earned the crowd's respect. So Darby Allin would absolutely be over in WWE. Will he go to WWE ever? I doubt it. I don't think he will. Could he go there and get over? Yes, I do. Jordan B. from YouTube asked, are you surprised that D'Angelo Dinero won no titles during his TNA run? I was. I thought he would at least win the TV title. According to Vince Russo, Dinero was supposed to beat AJ Styles at Lockdown in 2010 for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, but Hogan nixed that plan. Hogan nixed a lot of those sort of plans. It was also supposed to be Bobby Roode beating Kurt Angle for the TNA title at Bound for Glory in 2011, and reportedly, it was Hogan that nixed that too. So that doesn't surprise me. Yes, I am surprised that Dinero never won a title in TNA. I am shocked he never won the TV title. I don't know if he could have been a world champion. Dinero really had a great resurgence there when he was brought into TNA in late 2009, early 2010. Way more than he was ever utilized in WWE on ECW, at that point in time. And he also improved. He had a great charisma and great mic skills. He could have been a world champion in time. They should have started with the TV title, and he should have won at least that or the tag titles or something. But then he was gone within... I think he was gone maybe by 2011. He wasn't there for much longer. And then when he came back years later, he was just a commentator. Jordan's second question: do you see Javon Evans taking over Bo Dallas's record of being the youngest NXT champion before his birthday on April 29th? I didn't even know that was a thing, where Javon would break the record if he won the title before then. Yeah, I guess he would. So, yeah, I see that happening. I see Javon Evans winning the NXT championship before he gets called up. I know they were flirting with the idea of him getting called up recently. I do think he should win the NXT championship first. I know Ricky just won it. I would have given it to Javon before Ricky, but whatever. Maybe Ricky goes heel and he wins it from a heel Ricky Saints. I'm not sure, but yeah, I could see him breaking that record. And also, April 29th is after Mania weekend. So if their plan is to give it to him Mania weekend and stand and deliver, he would break the record. That would be his last chance, really, would be to break that record. Although I could see, again, Javon Evans being called up before that would even take place. At Iwagu91 from Twitter, first question of his: who do you think should be AJ Styles' final opponent? Good question. If we're talking WWE, I mean, if he were to leave and go to AEW, like a Kenny Omega would be cool. But if we're assuming, and I am, that he retires in WWE next year when his contract expires, who is his final opponent? I don't know. Like, who is there really for him to put over? Excuse me. I've seen people say Leon Slater because he had the interaction with him in TNA. I doubt AJ would have his final match ever in fucking TNA. I'm just going to be honest. Especially while TNA's working with WWE. WWE at that point would want his final match with them. So it will not be Leon Slater. I think he should put someone over. I think that would make sense. I think Gunther would be a fine choice. I know Gunther beat Goldberg in his final match. He'll probably beat John Cena in his final match. Just make him the modern-day legend killer, and it's also a match we have not seen yet. There's not many AJ Styles matches left that we have not seen in this company. So I would have it be him. I want AJ and Punk one-on-one before AJ retires. I do want to see that one time. But, yeah, I don't think that's going to be AJ's final match. I don't think we get that at all. But even if we do get it, I don't think it's the final match of AJ. He should probably put over someone a little bit younger and newer, that being Gunther. I'll go Gunther. My thoughts on dashing Chris Bay, he asked. I think Chris Bay is great. It's a miracle that he can't even walk, that he's alive after that neck injury he suffered about a year ago. It was cool to see him in person. at the Bound for Glory show. He came out to announce the attendance. No one really reacted, which was kind of a shame, but it was cool to see him, though. But yeah, before he got hurt, Chris Bay was great. And him and Ace Austin had a great thing going in their tag team. I do think there was more potential there to do more with Chris Bay on his own as an X Division guy. Like, he won the X Division title immediately in TNA 5 years ago, but then lost it soon after and never really got back to that level. And I do think he had a higher ceiling than that. So I think Chris Bay is great, though. I don't know if he'll ever wrestle again. Probably not, but he is great. And lastly from him, do you think that Blake Monroe will become NXT Women's Champion? I do. I think she's only really in NXT to win that championship before going up to the main roster. She probably should have just won it by now. I mean, JC Jane's run really hasn't inspired a lot of confidence in me personally. I don't really give a fuck about it. They should have just had her beat JC Jane for the belt. Blake, that is, but whatever. I do think Blake will win the championship from whoever beats JC Jane at some point. At Pluggo _ from Twitter. My buddy Pluggo, check out their show, by the way. Between Two Beards, I've been on it before. They have a great podcast at the Love Wrestling Network. Follow him on Twitter as well. He said, so Dark State destroyed a Match of the Year candidate in Evans and Slater. Why TNA got a TNA? Great question. We were wondering that as well. We were talking about that after I saw you at Bound for Glory. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously not just a TNA call. It was part of WWE's decision as well to do that because they have their own talent in there, and it really just came down to politics where neither company wants their guy to lose. But surely there's a better way than that. Having Dark State come in, and I guess the idea is to put heat on them. First of all, who gives a fuck about Dark State? And second of all, it was lame to do that shit on your biggest pay-per-view of the year. Figure that shit out. Do that match on fucking Impact or NXT. If you're going to do a finish like that, just do that there. And then have them team up at Bound for Glory instead, where we get an actual finish. To do that finish on that show was so comically bad. That was fucking awful, especially after already doing the time limit draw. Like, they blue balled us twice. Not even just once, twice. So, LOL TNA indeed. And then last question, the headline question for today's video. At millennial _ noob, what are your thoughts on AEW Wrestle Dream from over the weekend? I thought the card was decent, but there was one thing that irked me, and that's the I Quit match between Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. Do you think AEW has once again gone too far with the audience? Good question. I don't think they've gone too far with the violence. I think, and I said this before when we talked about it, when someone asked about it earlier, there's an audience for that sort of thing. But my big concern is that the audience that likes the shit that AEW does, with the fingernail stuff specifically, that's really what I'm talking about. Like, what are we talking about with gone too far with the violence? You know, like the fish tank thing was stupid. I think that's fucking dumb. But we've also seen dumb stuff in really every other company, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about the kids. Like, I don't really... Fuck the kids. I don't give a fuck about the kids. I'm just saying as a viewer, Mr. Marceau is one of these people that are turned off by stuff like that. He just doesn't even watch the show anymore. They just do it way too often. It's not once in a while. It would be one thing if it was once in a while. Like, they've been doing dumb shit like that since the beginning. They did that shit in, was it Hangman? Not Hangman. It was Pac. No, who was it? Omega. Omega and Moxley at Full Gear in 2019. That was a fucking death match. But they weren't doing that shit all the time. They did it, like, once every couple of months. And they did it on shows like that, on big pay-per-views. But they do it so often. And a lot of the shit they do is just fucking stupid. Just because Darby wants to do it to prove something or to make himself feel free doesn't mean Tony Khan should go along with it. That's really part of the problem. I don't care if Moxley and Darby are pitching this stuff. This is why there's producers and people like Tony Khan there to say no to these things. You know, like in WWE, they say no to a lot more shit than we probably want them to. Certain shit they should allow, and they should get a bit more extreme than they do. In AEW, they get too extreme. I'm not going to say they've gone too far. I don't think they've gone too far. But they have reached the point where I'm not shocked that certain people are turned off by this shit. I'm not going to sit here and give you whataboutisms like, oh, why is AEW doing this but not WWE and vice versa? And talk about the kids and whatever. I just think that stuff's fucking lame. I'm just talking about there's a lot of people that don't like that stuff. I feel like there's more people that don't like that shit or parents that would not let their kids watch that shit over people that do. And then you're left in a situation where it's a niche product appealing or trying to appeal to just these niche fans that like the hardcore shit. And that's all they'll really like about it. I mean, the wrestling on AEW is great. I feel like that alone would make AEW enough of an alternative. And if you want to do shit like what they did on Saturday, I'm not even saying don't go that far in the future, but do it less. That's my big thing. They do it too often, so it doesn't mean anything. And it's not my cup of tea. I'm not saying don't do matches like that. What I'm saying is don't do them as often. So then they actually mean something. And people who watch the show are like, you know what, that's not really for me, but they don't do it that often, so it's not that big of a deal. When you do it every fucking week, and that's their whole identity, is going too far and doing gross shit with the fingernails, which is fucking disgusting. With that sort of shit, when you do it all the time, it's like, well, if that's all this company is, I'm not watching GCW. If this is becoming GCW 2.0, I'm not watching this shit either. You know, I don't really think that shit should have a place on television consistently. Once in a while, as a spectacle, sure. But they do it all the fucking time, so it doesn't mean anything. And it really just comes down to AEW allowing the inmates to run the asylum with their own ideas and thinking that shit is like great and it's going to make the match better. It really doesn't. Like everything else about that match, I know Richie said earlier that he called it tame. I'm fine with that. They can also go to the extreme and get bloody and shit. Probably not in St. Louis where there's like commissions for that sort of shit. Excuse me, but you know, it would be fitting for the end of that feud for them to get to the extreme. But like certain things like the glass thing in Sting's last match was a great visual, but it's just so dumb. Like Darby might not care if his body gets wrecked, but Tony Khan sure as fuck would because he can never put the top title on this guy, and he probably wants to. Darby Allin may not care, but it kind of makes it hard for a booker to rely on these people like Darby. If he's doing dumb shit like that, he could fucking kill himself for the person he's in the ring with. They may not care about themselves, but it's up to the booker and the people in charge of that company to care about these people that don't really care about themselves. That's kind of where my concern is. I don't want to see anyone get seriously hurt, and I feel like you're playing with fire, like figuratively and literally, when you do that sort of shit as often as you do. And it's bound to happen. The Mick Foley off the top of the cage thing was fucking ridiculous. But they didn't do that shit all the time. It stands out because they only did it once. You know, they only ever did it once. I mean, Shane jumped off, which was stupid too. Decades later in a match that wasn't nearly as good. But the Mick Foley thing, it's not like they saw that it worked and everyone was talking about it. So they did it in every single Hell in a Cell after that. That would have devalued the stipulation, devalued the move, devalued the spot. And it would have been fucking lame. And it also would have been just dumb. I mean, Mick Foley still cannot walk properly from that and all the other damage that he did to his body in the years that followed. I don't want to see that happen to Darby and other people like that, even if they don't care. Like, they do it because they can, but I also think there's something to be said about stepping in and stopping these people from going too far and protecting them from themselves. So, in a nutshell, do I think they went too far? No. They've done worse than what we got on Saturday. But I also think there's something to be said about it just becoming torture porn. I said that on Saturday on Twitter. Like the fingernail thing specifically. I wouldn't want to watch that in a movie either. I just think that's fucking disgusting. Like, it just becomes like the Terrifier thing where like you're watching people get just not even mangled, but like just tortured. And it's like, this is just gross. Like, why would you want to watch that? You know, like killing people and the slashing thing and whatever, like the horror movies. I get that. But like when you get to Terrifier category, AEW kind of feels like the Terrifier of pro wrestling, where they just kind of take it too far and like, oh, it's never been done before. We're being innovative, but it doesn't necessarily make it good. It's just like shock value, and it's just dumb shit. And you just keep trying to up the ante by doing dumber and dumber shit. That doesn't necessarily make it better. It just makes it fucking stupid. And I don't really consider it art either, but I guess that's subjective. Whatever. Like, if you're enjoying the fingernail thing, honestly, if you get enjoyment out of that sort of thing, I will put you on a fucking list. I think that's extremely questionable. I think that's very fucking weird. The other shit being put through tables, yeah, it's been done to death in wrestling, but, like, I get that. That looks cooler. There's a safe way to do that. The fingernail thing, I'm not even saying they actually did it, but even the idea of it is fucking disgusting. At that point, you just like seeing people get tortured, and that, to me, is just fucking weird. And I don't really think any company should be doing shit like that. But who am I to say? Maybe I'm just one big baby with a lot to complain about, and I should just get over it. I don't know. Let me backtrack a little bit here with the other chats. That is it for the scheduled questions. And we'll go back to the chat here before we head on out of here. Don't forget to stay hydrated and drop a like on the stream, y'all. I agree with Richie. The great advice and the Love Ziggler emojis as well. Listen to Richie. He's a wise man. He said, can you tell the WWE 04 story without Benoit? Not really, because a lot of 04 WWE revolved around Benoit. He won the fucking Rumble. He won the main event of Mania. He held the World Championship until 04. He was the one who Orton beat for that World Heavyweight Championship. So, no, Benoit was a big focal point of that company in 04. You can't really tell the story of that year without him, unless you're only specifically focusing on SmackDown, because SmackDown was all about Brock leaving, the rise of JBL, Eddie Guerrero becoming champion, but you're not really telling the full story without the Benoit stuff. Would you ever do content with another wrestling content creator like Solomonster or Santizap? Yeah, I'm down to do content with really anyone that's interested, for sure. I've done stuff with Solomonster before. I've interviewed him a few times. We've done a few interviews on the channel. He was on my podcast. We did a video interview about a year ago. Solomonster is great. I've said before, he is legitimately the only wrestling podcast I listen to. There's a lot of other good ones out there, and that goes for wrestling YouTubers as well. I just don't really have the time. I don't really have the time, and I just feel like he has the best takes on stuff, and he's pretty well balanced, and he's entertaining. He does not content every day, but like enough content, if that makes sense. No one else's content really stands out to me personally. There's a lot of other great people doing great things, but and that like legitimately, I just don't have time. So I watch him. I watch new rock stars for like Marvel movie superhero content. It's really about it. Really about it. I mean, I watch other movies and shit like that, but as far as content, like people I'm subscribed to and watch all of their shit, Solomonster and new rock stars are probably the top two. Nathaniel said, I loved Ballerina. Do you hope for a sequel? I doubt a sequel gets made. I don't think it did well financially. I don't think we see a second one, but I don't even think you need to do a sequel. Excuse me. I think it was good enough on its own. I enjoyed it for what it was. Nathaniel said, do you want a Megan 3, and what was bad about the second one? No. I know there's a 3 in the word Megan, so how can you not do a Megan 3? But the second one was all about AI bullshit. They basically turned Megan babyface, and the villain sucked. Wasn't interesting at all. The story sucked. Not nearly enough action. They basically turned it into a poor action film, and it wasn't really horror at all. It was not scary whatsoever. Just fucking stupid. Least favorite show to have been to in person? Mr. Marceau will tell you Hell in the Cell 2016. And I like 2016 WWE. I like the brand split, but that show had Charlotte and Sasha in the main event, which was not a good match, and the finish sucked. Jericho and Owens had a really good Hell in the Cell match. Roman and Rusev was good. They did 3 cell matches on one show, which was so excessive. But they also did Bayley and Dana Brooke. No one gave a shit. Gallows and Anderson versus Enzo and Cass. No one gave a shit. It was one of those Raw exclusive shows that really was not all that good at all. Probably that one. I'm sure I've been to Raws that were worse, but like a main show that sticks out, we talk about that one all the time. We also went to a Raw in late 2019, the last Raw of the decade actually, in Hartford, Connecticut, where they did the wedding of Lana and Bobby Lashley. That was also an awful show. I'm sure I've been to a lot of Raws and SmackDowns that sucked. I just don't remember. Seems like Stephanie is Vince's preferred child because she's more like him and Shane is more like Linda. That might be accurate. I'm not sure. Where is Triple H if he never gets with Stephanie? I think he doesn't take over in an authoritative role, I'll tell you that much. I think Triple H has a lot of success in WWE, but then I think that's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe he takes over in NXT still, but I don't think he's in charge of the company today. I don't think that happens. I don't know who it would be. Maybe Vince would have sold sooner than he did. Would Triple H have been on top as long as he was without Stephanie? Probably not, but he still would have been a top star regardless, I think. Fernando said, I've been trying to ask you this for a while, but kept forgetting. How often do you appear on Between Two Beards on I Love Wrestling? I caught you on the last time you were on it like a few months ago. Thanks for checking out, Fernando. I appreciate that. They do great content over there. They're very funny guys. Like I just said before when I answered Pluggo's question, they were at Bound for Glory, so we met up after the show. We spoke briefly, and we went our separate ways. But, yeah, they're great dudes. How often do I appear on there? Not often. I don't really do a whole lot of podcasts, so it's not like they're asking me to go on every week, but maybe once or twice a year. I think I did it back in January we were on. I saw them at the Rumble. And I think we did it before the Rumble. And then they asked me on like shortly after SummerSlam, but I couldn't do it. But I ended up making up that day by doing it with them. I think last month I was on their show, or early September. I forgot when it was, but we did a podcast about a month ago. I probably won't be back on soon, but and I've gotten offers from people to do like, oh, do you want to start a podcast with me? And it's nothing against the person. I just don't have the time. There's other things I need to focus on more than doing more shows. I actually want to do less shows. That's kind of the problem. I try to do more of my own stuff. I have to focus on my own content, and then everything else is kind of secondary. But yeah, I mean, usually if people have me on a podcast, I'll go on. If it's like a one-time only thing, I'll definitely do it. But as like a recurring thing, it's every couple of months. The only other podcast aside from my own shit that I try to do as often as I can, usually it's like once a month, is my buddy Randy Cruz. I mentioned it before. He's a great dude. I think we're planning on doing a show on Friday afternoon. So heads up on that. We'll be live again here on the channel on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio. But I'm going to probably be on his show again on Friday. I think the last time I was on before Friday was last month, and we also did a podcast in August as well. So I used to do it like every week, every other week, but I just don't have the time, and my schedule's so fucking hectic. I just can't be on every week. I just don't have the bandwidth for it. But I will be on his show on Friday. So if you're interested in that, check it out. And yeah, I'll try to share it on the community tab as well here on the channel. So if you go to the channel community tab, it might pop up in your subscriptions. I'll share the video. I also tweet about it as well. You can catch the link. I'll put this in the community tab too, but just a quick shout out. My brother, who has done a lot of short films, and he's a big, he does a lot of that sort of stuff. He's friends with Roger Clark of Red Dead Redemption 2. Great guy, and they've made a lot of content together. They made a Christmas special last year that like went viral, which was cool. They just did another one. Went up last night. My brother's channel is called Johnson's Hot Dogs. Sounds ridiculous. I know that's the point. Check out Johnson's Hot Dogs. The video is called A Debt to Die For. Not A Death. That's the first one they did together. A Debt to Die For. It's the sequel. It's about a 7-minute long video. It's a quick short film, whatever. Very funny. Alexis actually has a part in it. So check that out as well. It went up yesterday. Roger Clarkson is in it. And I will share the video in the community tab probably a little bit later today for you guys to check out. Zorik asked, do I miss the WWE pressers? Do I miss them? No. Do I miss being a part of them? Yeah, kind of. I think that was a great chance to kind of ask questions to people that you wouldn't otherwise get a chance to interact with or ask a question to, specifically legit questions, and they took that privilege away. So I don't miss watching them. A lot of them were not interesting, but for my own selfish reasons, do I miss being a part of them and asking questions? Yes. MFTs versus Wyatt's, just take my money. Am I right? Zorik said. No thanks. I mean, if they did that as a Survivor Series elimination match, sure. Why not? As a War Games match? No thanks. That's not interesting at all. Who else do I think should just retire? I mean, they signed R-Truth to do absolutely nothing. He probably should have retired, but whatever. I like R-Truth. If he's making money, great, but like, what was the point of fucking bringing him back if they weren't going to do shit with him? Nakamura should probably retire the next few years. I know he hinted at that on Twitter the other day or on Instagram or whatever. He's probably nearing retirement soon. Jericho's got to fucking retire, but if they want to do one more run for him in WWE, like a nostalgia run, cool, sure. I'm down with it. Richie said AJ Styles' last match will be against a returning Baron Corbin. Hey, got to put him over. You already put him over once before, I think years ago, for the United States Championship. You'll put him over again. Zorik said, let me backtrack a little bit here. Who did I make mad to be this close to another J World title run? That's a good question. I can't answer that. We all pissed somebody off up above to get this close to another J title. I like Jay. I was happy when it went the first time. Do we need another second World Heavyweight Championship run from Jey Uso so close after his last one? Absolutely not. No, most surprising in-person link-up. I don't know what you mean by that, but I ran into Mick Foley while I was at a theme park back in 2015. I was on vacation. Completely different state. And I was waiting in line for a ride. And I'm not talking like fucking Disney World. It was like, I don't know, some park in New Hampshire. And I'm waiting in line and I see Mick Foley approaching with a fucking Santa Claus shirt on. And I'm like, is that Mick Foley? And I'm wearing my Macho Man shirt, and he wants me to like keep it down so I don't draw attention to him. And I'm like, is that Mick? I'm like freaking out. That was very, very random. Super fucking random. That was the most random link up I've ever had. I met Eddie Edwards and his wife Alicia, who were both in TNA. That same year, actually, or the following year, I was in Salem, Massachusetts for Halloween, and I was getting on the train, and they were coming in with their friends, and I saw them. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's Eddie Edwards and his wife. So I met them, which was cool. I've run into other people in public before that was just like super random. I forgot who it was. There was definitely one of those. Oh, here's another one, actually. I got invited to a play 2 years ago here in Connecticut, not far from where I live. And I got invited to a play that was about wrestling. And that's why they I don't know how they found out about me, but they found out, I don't even know if they knew I lived in Connecticut. But they reached out, asked me if I wanted to come check it out, spread the word and whatever. And it was great. But it had Kurt Fuller from No Holds Barred, I think Scary Movie 2 or 3. He was also in Ghostbusters 2. Great actor. And he was in the play, and James Roday was running it. He wasn't in the play, but James Roday is Sean Spencer from Psych, one of my favorite shows of all time. And the guy who hooked us up with the tickets and got us into the play said, do you want to meet James? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I do. So we met James Roday and chatted afterward. He remembered me from he said he remembered me. I don't know if he actually did. From when I interviewed him over Zoom a few years earlier. And it was incredible. And one of the most random things I've ever done. One of the most random link-ups of all time. Anyway, Zork said, would I ever sign an NDA? Probably not. I have no intention to, but if there's $3 million involved, hey, I'll fucking sign whatever you want. We'll see. Richie said, just read that Samantha Irvin, an announcer, has a non-compete clause that ends in another year. How absurd. Is that real? That's crazy. I mean, that would explain why she couldn't go to AEW, why she hasn't gone to AEW and hasn't done anything. That's just so fucking stupid to me. And also for her sake, did she really, I mean, I'm not like blaming her, but like I'm just thinking like, why would she just up and quit WWE if the stipulation was that is she not being paid either? Like, what's going on with her? But why would she not just stay in WWE at that point? I don't know. The whole thing is weird. Who is your favorite referee? Charles Robinson. Do I have a list like Chris Jericho? I should. What is Love Ziggler? We're all trying to fucking answer that question. Ask Tyreek. He's not here today, but if Tyreek was here, you can ask him because he was the one that came up with it. Richie said, just met Brian Alvarez, allegedly indicated that the finish of AEW's Wrestle Dream main event with Jon Moxley quitting was rushed because they were completely out of time. That wouldn't shock me, but it's like, give these people some more, does every match need to go 30 minutes? Like, that's the problem. Like, how do you run out of fucking time on a 5.5 hour show? Maybe just tighten up the fucking match times a little bit. It ended at 12:30. It did feel rushed. I mean, I feel like that was the finish regardless. I don't think they did a different finish, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Do I do other content aside from this channel and stuff for BR? I do a lot of other content. I mean, this is the main stuff. I do stuff here on the channel, WrestleRant.com. That's my website. I've been doing that for 15 years. I do other non-wrestling related stuff as well. I do stuff for other websites. I do a lot of shit. But mainly Bleacher Report, this stuff, and my website as well, WrestleRant.com. WrestleRant is where you can find not only just the channel, but like my written reviews of every show that I watch. Raw, NXT, SmackDown, Dynamite, Collision, AEW pay-per-views, WWE pay-per-views, TNA pay-per-views, Impact, Ring of Honor, the occasional Wrestle Kingdom review. When I watch NWA and MLW, those reviews are up there as well. All of it is up there on the website. When I used to watch, all of Lucha Underground, all of those reviews are up there. When I used to watch and review NXT UK and the Cruiserweight Classic, NXT Level Up, it's all on the website. What's my opinion on Alvarez? I enjoy his opinions more than Meltzer's. I kind of give him more credence as far as credibility than Meltzer. I don't really listen to their stuff, though, beyond the stuff that I see on social media. Richie said, I argue with my wife quite frequently whenever we talk about that match. It was a dud of a main event, which on paper was deserved for both women, but they did not click that night at all. Yeah, if you're talking about Charlotte and Sasha, I did not like that match at all. They had far better matches. It was the right main event because it was the first ever women's main event in pay-per-view history for WWE, just women and no one else. The match was not good. Their other matches were way better. The finish was fucking awful. It was kind of boring for most of it. A lot of it was just brawling. Very disappointing match. Do I think Vince tried to erase Triple H when he had heart problems? Yes, he absolutely did, and everything else he built up in NXT. It's pretty obvious based on people that Vince was firing when Triple H was not there. I agree. Richie said, Love Ziggler lore is a lot to explain at Zork that might need its own stream to discuss. I agree. As he throws in the Love Ziggler emojis. Zork said, Jey Uso winning has way more dislikes than likes on WWE's channel. I saw that, and that one I can understand. Like, when Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble, I thought that was over-exaggerating. Him becoming number one contender again, though, I can understand it, because it's not interesting. It's just not interesting. When he is going for the World Championship again, him and Punk is not like an exciting attraction of a main event. I just don't care. I don't really care about it. So having more dislikes than likes, I could totally understand that. I thought it was dumb earlier this year with other stuff, but at this point, I can totally get it. Richie said, Dwayne Johnson's hot dog. Nathaniel said, have you seen Bad Guys 2, and would you want a third one? I have not even seen the first one. I know family that saw the second one and said they liked it. Alexis wants to watch the first one at some point. I'm sure we will. I have not seen either one as of now. How would you feel about a Megan versus Chucky movie? That sounds fucking terrible. Chucky is awful. I watched the Chucky TV show they did on Sci-Fi years ago. It was so fucking bad. People loved it. I feel like I was the only person that thought it was garbage. Do I think that Damian Priest is peaked? No, I think he could be back in the world title picture. I mean, peaked as far as like the most success he'll ever have. Maybe. I don't know if he'll ever have the world championship for as long as he did last year and also winning it at WrestleMania. That was probably his peak, but he still has a lot more to offer and he's still great. So I don't know if he'll ever be world champion again, but I could see it happening at some point. He's also just not getting any younger, so I'm glad he won it when he did. Brock Lesnar should retire. I wouldn't argue with that. I feel like he's done all that he can do and offer the company. Sting changed the perspective of retirements. Yeah, I mean, he set the bar pretty fucking high. Where is Finn if he never got hurt in 2016? Probably the same place. I mean, they put the title on Kevin Owens instead, and it's not like Kevin Owens became this overnight sensation. Like, he had a very long run with the championship. He also dropped it to Goldberg, and that was it. I don't really think with Finn that his career would have ended up much different. I really don't. I think he would have won the Universal Championship for a few months. They would have taken it off of him, and then they would have moved on. So I don't think his career looks all that different. It would have been different early on, maybe for the first year. I don't really think it was all that different. Why? What was stopping Vince from pushing Finn when he came back from injury? Nothing. He came back from injury and put him immediately in the mid-card without ever really trying with him in the main event. And that's not because he got hurt. That was just because he never really saw Finn as being a top guy long-term. And the only reason he pushed him out of the gate in 2016 was because they needed fresh faces going into the brand split, and he was the guy they went with for a little while before he got hurt. Is Triple H the best example of sleeping your way to the top? In wrestling, probably yes. Probably yes. Whether he was doing that on purpose or not. Nathaniel said, I'm going to watch Blue Jays versus Dodgers World Series. Is that the World Series game this year? Blue Jays and Dodgers? If it is, I got the Dodgers winning, although I would like to see the Blue Jays win instead. Zork said, has anyone ever approached you in person recognizing you from your content? He also said he loves Psych. Yeah, I love Psych. I love Monk. Those are my two favorite shows of all time. Yes, I've gone that actually a lot. More than I would think, actually, people recognizing me. I've met up with people that I've been friends with on Twitter and like that have followed me for a long time that have said, hey, can we meet up? Like, whatever, can we meet in person for the first time? And that's been cool. But without even doing that, there have been a few people. There was a guy at Mania, actually. I was at the Superstore, and he said we've interacted on Twitter before. I didn't really remember it. But he said that he's tweeted me or liked my shit or whatever it was. And I followed him right after we met in person. But I was at the Superstore, and this guy goes, hey, he comes up to me, and I go, and he said, are you Graham G.S. Matthews? Are you at WrestleRant? Whatever. And my first question was, who paid you to say that? Who told you to come up to me to say that? But I guess he was legitimately like someone who followed me and enjoyed my work and my articles and shit. And we spoke for like 10 minutes, and he was a really nice guy. I think his name was Day. And we follow each other on Twitter now. But no, that was cool. And randomly enough, 9 years ago, I was at Raw. Actually, you talk about Finn Balor, this ties to that story. I was at the Raw after SummerSlam in 2016. I mean, it's happened a lot over the years. I've been in line at WrestleCon and someone behind me has said, "Oh, are you so and so?" And I said, "Yes." And it happens. It happens. It has happened a lot over the years, but that time from WrestleMania stands out as the most recent example. But also, I was at a Raw 9 years ago. The Raw after Finn Balor won the Universal Championship and immediately had to relinquish it. It was that night that he came out and relinquished the championship. I was at Raw at Barclays Center that night, and I was, taking pictures, tweeting about it, whatever. The kid behind me, sits up and goes, "Hey, are you at WrestleRant?" And he looks, he goes, "You're on my fucking timeline right now." Like, he followed me. I'm like, holy fuck, that's insane. Like, this kid was just randomly sitting behind me. Like, he didn't see me and, came over to me. He was already sitting behind me. And he probably either saw my phone or saw something I tweeted, looked at the picture, and is like, "Oh, is that the same person?" Whatever. And this was before, you have, the For You timeline now or whatever. Like, I see people on my timeline constantly I don't follow. That's because I had the For You timeline. I probably shouldn't have that. This was, if you were on Twitter and you looked at your timeline, it was only people you followed. So that's how I knew he was being legit. And that was crazy. And we took a picture, and it was really cool. And I saw him again years later at the mall in New York City. He was working at the mall. I saw the exact same kid, and I'm like, I recognize you. He remembered me because he still followed me. That was crazy. So that stood out as being really cool as well. I ran into Ronald McDonald and a hamburger inside a New York pizza place, Johnny said. Tell him I say hi if you run into them again. Johnny said, Ricochet taking care of Samantha. She doesn't have to work. Well, I don't know. Is she making money off of that deal, or is she just under a 1-year non-compete? That's crazy if so. Fernando said, I think WWE should hold off on Punk winning the World Championship, save Elimination Chamber in Chicago. He wins it and challenges Cody at Mania for the WWE title. So what did you say? Hold off on Punk winning the world title until Elimination Chamber in Chicago. He wins it and challenges Cody at Mania. Oh, okay. So he wins the Chamber and he doesn't win the title in the Chamber. He becomes number one contender at Chamber and then faces Cody at Mania. I'd be fine with that. I just also don't want fucking Jey Uso to win. So I'd rather have Punk win at Saturday Night's Main Event than wait until Mania at this point, because I really don't want Jey Uso as champion. Why not put LA Knight in that spot instead? Why are we going back to Jey Uso this quickly? Give fucking LA Knight a turn. Jey Uso had his chance. It was fun while it lasted. Time to move on. As the world champion. Do I think it should have been LA Knight? Yes. Instead of Jey at Saturday Night's Main Event? Yes. They canceled Chucky Season 4. I'm aware. Thank fucking God. I said rejoice when I saw that last year. I'm like, that show was terrible. Thank God they canceled it. It was awful. What on earth is this version of Judgment Day? Well, they had a lot of championships up until last night, so they are successful. It's not the same Judgment Day that they were at their peak a few years ago, but they're still around. Does Kevin Owens ever become champ if Finn doesn't get hurt? No, probably not, because it's not like he's won the title since then. His booking probably doesn't change. So honestly, no. Honestly, no. Maybe Kevin Owens maybe he beats Finn Balor for the belt and Owens still goes on to lose it to Goldberg. Like Finn, I don't know if he would have held it until Goldberg beat him for it. I don't believe that. I'll say yes, and Owens beats Balor. But beyond that, no, I don't think anything else would have really changed with Kevin Owens. Because again, he was another guy Vince never really saw at a certain level. He beat John Cena in his debut match, which was amazing for him. He's had a lot of success. He's been in a lot of pay-per-view main events and won a lot of championships. But he never again won another world championship. And I just never really thought, I don't think Triple H at this point sees him at that level either, as being the guy as a multi-time world champion, which is unfortunate. I'm also not sure they're making a live-action Chucky movie again. I hope not. I didn't see it myself. I heard it was sucked. Maybe I'll have to watch it and tell you how bad it was. I don't know. I haven't seen it, though. I know it came out a few years ago. I enjoyed the Chucky series, Fernando says. All right, that makes one of us. Thoughts on Sami Zayn versus Jackass? The match from Johnny Knoxville from Mania 38. I think it's a great match, honestly. Way better than it had any right to be. It was a guilty pleasure of mine. Alexis loved that match when we went to that show. Yeah, great show. Dodgers Blue Jays is on Friday, Nathaniel said. Okay, so that's the World Series matchup. I'll go Dodgers go over, but I would like to see the Blue Jays win personally. Do you need a passport to live in Canada? You need more than a passport to live in Canada. You need a passport to travel to Canada, but you also need a passport to fucking you need more than a passport to live in Canada. If you're not from Canada, if you're from Canada, then whatever. If you're not from Canada, you would need more than a passport to probably live there. Am I a fan of Art the Clown? No, I think he looks cool. I think the Terrifier movies are a lot of torture porn, like I said before. I don't really care about him personally. I think he's a cool villain, though. I think he's like a cool Jason, Freddy, Ghostface, Michael Myers type character. I think the character itself is cool. The movies I have no intention or no interest in watching. Have you ever had the opportunity to do an interview that you turned down? I don't know what you mean by that. Why would I do an interview? Had an opportunity to do an interview that I turned down. I don't know what you mean by that. You'd have to elaborate. Noob said, where was Asuka if she hadn't lost to Charlotte Flair? I think she's in the same spot. If she beat Charlotte at Mania, Carmella would have cashed on her anyway, so she should not have lost to Charlotte. But again, I think Vince also saw Asuka at a certain level. She won the world title a lot more than Finn or Owens combined in WWE. But she also, for as successful as she has been and as big of a star she has been for WWE, she also should have been bigger. Because she was presented very stupidly at several points in her WWE main roster run. Have I ever come close to not doing content anymore? No, to my knowledge, no. I did put a lot of the content that I was doing on pause when I went to college in 2013. When I went to college, I stopped doing a lot of different shows. I put this show on hold. The hashtag AskGSM, we started doing that summer, and I stopped doing it for a few months when I was in college. But then, by the second semester, I started doing it consistently, and we haven't stopped since. Other than that, though, we've always done it for the most part, and I guess I've always been doing content in some form or another for the last fucking 15 years or whatever it's been. So beyond that, no. That 2013 was probably the closest I came to not doing shit anymore. But even that, it's not like I was doing no content. I still put up some content while I was at college. Nathaniel said, what did you hate most about Chucky? He's just fucking annoying. He acts like he's tougher than he is. He's not scary. It's stupid. The show was not funny. It was funny because it was bad. The acting sucked. A lot of it made no sense. It was just stupid. AJ said, will AJ Styles go on to the Sting Championship Tournament Retirement Tour? Oh, Sting Tag Team Championship Retirement Tour. He shouldn't. Sting retired as tag team champion because he did not want to wrestle singles matches. AJ at 49 or whatever he is can still very much wrestle one-on-one matches. So no, he should not retire as tag team champion. I get the feeling this reign will be short-lived anyway, but it was nice to see him win gold last night regardless. Do I think Edge refuses to put people over sometimes? Excuse me. No. I don't think that's the case. Edge may refuse to lose when it doesn't make sense. I don't think he has this reputation for not putting people over. He put over plenty of people in AEW. He's put over plenty of people in WWE over the years, and even during his original run before he retired. I don't think Sting refuses to put people over. Not Sting, Edge. Sting too, but I would be surprised. Where is Charlotte and Cody if not for their fathers? I don't think Charlotte even gets into the business. The only reason Charlotte wrestled was for her brother. And her brother probably only wanted to wrestle because of their father. So I don't think Charlotte would even be in wrestling. Cody would have had the same success, I feel like. Cody, it's not like he became this big star because of his father. He was a fucking mid-card guy for that entire run before he left the company in 2016. He was Stardust for a few years. That was terrible. He was only ever really a mid-card guy. It's not like his father made him into a main event player, like the same way that Charlotte kind of got a lot of the same opportunities. Although Charlotte is naturally gifted as well. Not that Cody isn't. It just took Cody a lot longer to get to that point than Charlotte. Would I have liked to have seen more of Heath Ledger's Joker? Absolutely. Still the best Joker in my opinion. I would have absolutely loved to have seen more from him in The Dark Knight Rises or whatever, but unfortunately he passed. Nathaniel asked, do I think Liv Morgan should win the Rumble? No, because I want to see Liv and Roxanne. I feel like that makes sense. If Liv wins the Rumble, who is she facing for the world title? Who is the world champion right now? Stephanie? I don't really want to see that at Mania. It would be nice because Liv has lost so many Rumbles. For her to finally win one would be great. I don't see it happening. I don't think next year is the year. Maybe it is. I would say no. I feel like there's better matches you can do for the Women's World Championship at Mania than anything involving Liv, but we'll see. How did I get my start with BR? I sent in an application 15 years ago. They accepted me, and I've been with them ever since. Legitimately, that's as simple as it gets. I had initially started reading them earlier that year. I was not aware of the website before that point. I read some of their wrestling coverage. I saw that they were accepting new writers. It was a lot easier to get in with them at that point before they got taken over and bought out, and the company's a whole lot bigger now than it was at the time. But I've been one of two people that have been there ever since. Only one other person has been there longer than I have, and I've been there for 15 years. So simple as that. Von Tell, what's going on? Have I ever watched The Wire? No. I have seen The Wire. I know what it is. I have never watched The Wire. That's not the show with Michael Chiklis, right? I interviewed him recently. I've interviewed him a couple times. He's a very nice guy. I don't think he's in The Wire. I think he's in something like that, but no. Never watched The Wire. Maybe at some point I will. Nathaniel said, Edge wanted to put over Finn, but Vince said no, so I don't blame Edge for that. Exactly. Fernando said, where is Triple H without the relationships of without Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Stephanie? Now we're really narrowing it down. Like, we're taking away everyone. Triple H, again, would have been successful. Like, without the Clique, without Stephanie, I still think he's a main event guy. Maybe not for as long as he was, but he's still a main event guy. Without the Clique, I don't know if he gets beyond upper mid-card, to be honest. Especially during the Attitude Era when you have Rock already there, Stone Cold, Kane, Taker, Foley, a lot of great top talent. Big Show came in at some point. Jericho came in at some point. All probably, not Big Show's not more talented than Triple H, but, you know, Triple H probably, Kurt Angle is another one. All of those people probably would have respectively taken over some of the roles that Triple H did during that period. So I don't know if he gets even a main event full time. Like, he may have a Kevin Owens one-off run, but that might be it. If it's not for the Clique, and if not for Stephanie. Zorik says, feels a lot like Cody's story. Had to do with Dusty, though. Yeah, but it's not. It did have to do with Dusty. But even if it's, the whole finish the story thing had to do with Dusty. But Cody, I don't know. I mean, yeah, he followed in his father's footsteps, but I'm not sure. I mean, what are you saying if not for their fathers? Like, if their fathers weren't wrestling, or if their fathers didn't exist? If their fathers didn't exist, Cody wouldn't be here, literally. I mean, obviously, if he's not fucking born, he's not there. But, like, it's not like their fathers, it's not like Cody's father made him the success story that he is. Cody went out, reinvented himself. I mean, Dusty was his father in 2015. Dusty died in 2015. They could have pushed him after that. They didn't. He left instead. I don't know. I just don't really think the Dusty thing has as much to do with Cody's success as you think it might. Yeah, it's central to his character, but I still feel like you would have found something else to latch on to if it wasn't Dusty. Who do I think Vince hated the most? I don't know. Vince hated a lot of fucking people. I have no idea. Vince hated a lot of people, though. I don't know. The government, maybe? The women that, spoke out against him? Janelle Grant? He hates a lot of those people. Fernando, do you remember the first article I ever wrote on wrestling, or for wrestling, on wrestling rather, for Bleacher Report? Yes, I do. So I got accepted Memorial Day weekend, 2010. That same weekend, I wrote my first article for the website. We had people over for Memorial Day or something. It may have been for my birthday, but we had people over for cake. And the article went live. Like, you could hit publish and have it go live immediately back then. So I wrote this article. All my family got to read it, and they were all really receptive, and it kind of like gave me a confidence boost, like, oh, I should continue doing this, because they all liked it. They thought it was cool. The article was, I think, 8 or 10 people. I think it was called literally, and I've tried to go back and find it, and we've redone the Bleacher Report website so many times. I think the article's gone, unfortunately. It's just, you can't find it anymore. It's not up anymore. But it was called, This Could Be the Year, 10 Superstars Who Deserve the Push. Literally just as basic as these superstars deserve to be pushed. And I put fucking Kane on there. I put Shad Gaspard, MVP, Evan Bourne, all these random ass picks. Some of which I agree with now. Others I'm like, why the fuck did I put that person on there? Shad Gaspard got fired months later. He got fired, months later. But yeah, that was the first article that I wrote for the website. This could be the year. X superstars, like 8 superstars that deserve the push in WWE. Nathaniel said, Heath Ledger's my favorite Joker, way better than Suicide Squad Joker, in my opinion. I mean, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. Jared Leto Joker might be the worst one I've ever seen. That one sucked. I've seen Jack Nicholson. I've seen Joaquin Phoenix, Heath Ledger, Mark Hamill, the voice of Joker in the show or series or whatever. There's another Joker. The one they did in the most recent Batman movie where they showed his face. All of those Jokers are better than Jared Leto. Not even close. Zork said, yeah, I mean, Charlotte would have been as heavily pushed. She would not have been as heavily pushed, I think is what you mean to say, if she wasn't a Flair. Yeah, that's true. I don't think of Cody Rhodes. If Cody Rhodes isn't a Rhodes, I still think he gets heavily pushed. If he goes off and has the same journey that he does. Which tag team were you first a fan of in 2008? That's a good question. Probably Beer Money. I started watching TNA soon after I watched WWE, and I loved Beer Money. Beer Money was great. I still love Beer Money. I wish they had a run in WWE that just never came to fruition, but Beer Money in 2008 in WWE, what teams did they even really have? Carlito and Primo became a team. I liked Hawkins and Ryder. Maybe Hawkins and Ryder. Murdoch and Cade broke up around the time I started watching. London and Kendrick got released, broke up around the time I started watching. I liked Crime Time. You know what team I loved in 2008? That was my favorite tag team even before Beer Money? Priceless. Legacies, Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes. Speaking of Cody Rhodes, I love those guys as a tag team. So much so that when I created this channel, my original username had to do with Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase, like the YouTube structure is so different now that it doesn't go off of that username anymore. It's like Graham GSM Matthews, WrestleRant, whatever. But the original username had to do with Ted DiBiase being priceless. Literally, that was the username for this channel. So whenever I would like plug my channel and tell people to go check it out, it was not called WrestleRant or even my name. It was Ted DiBiase being priceless or whatever the fuck it was. That is how much I was a Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes fan back in the day. Rip Shad, but his solo push was beyond a dud. Yeah, Rip Shad, great dude, but I feel like they didn't even really try with Shad. They broke him off from JTG, and then that was it. Like, they just did nothing with it. And I feel like he could have been higher up on the totem pole. I don't know if they just weren't impressed with the matches they were having or what. But, like, I thought he had, potential as a singles heel. He had that great intensity about him. And they did nothing. He was off the show for months, and he got fucking fired at the end of the year. So, yeah, I agree with that. Nathaniel said, I was glad Jared Leto was not in Suicide Squad 2. I agree. It wasn't really even a Suicide Squad 2. The second one in 2021 was kind of like a soft sequel. Way better than the first one, not even close. Would I like to see Christian Bale come back? Yeah, I would like to see him come back. I love the Dark Knight movies, or specifically Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. I didn't really care too much for Batman Begins. I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. In my opinion, I didn't really love the movie. I was kind of bored for most of it, and it took me a long time to finally watch it. I saw Dark Knight decades before I saw Batman Begins. But yeah, Christian Bale coming back would be cool. I would have popped if he was in fucking, what's that movie that came out? The Flash, and they brought back other versions of other Superman and Batman and whatever. They didn't do that with Christian Bale, unfortunately, but that would have been cool. Would have been one of the only redeeming qualities of the movie. Although I didn't hate that movie as much as most people. I was actually entertained for most of it. Fernando said, did you hear they are rebooting Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I did hear that rumor. I don't think that's true. I would be surprised. They have so many other projects that they're focusing on. They could, but like, why would they even do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't even exist anymore. Are they completely blowing up the MCU, which I don't think they're doing, and they're going to establish a new S.H.I.E.L.D.? Like, they have S.W.O.R.D. now. I don't think we get Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They might make it canon, but I don't think they do a new show, in my opinion. Which wrestler initially piqued your interest? William Regal when he was the Raw GM. If it wasn't for William Regal as the Raw GM, I would not have gotten into wrestling, and I don't know if I would have ever watched beyond 2008 if it wasn't for William Regal. Do I like the current Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad? Are we talking Margot Robbie? The answer is yes. I liked her in those movies. I thought she was great in those movies. I think she does a great job. She's probably the best part of that first one. The second one, the rest of the cast is a lot better than the first one. But in the second one, she's good too. I don't think she comes back to play that character. If and when they do a Harley Quinn in the new DCU, I think they completely reboot it with someone new. I don't think they use her. Even though that second Suicide Squad movie has her in it, and that's a James Gunn movie, and there's a lot of elements in that movie that are canon. So I don't know. Have I seen the Barbie movie? Yes. I only saw it because Alexis wanted me to, and I actually ended up really liking it. I thought it was a great movie. Yeah, so I have seen Barbie. It's a great movie. Fernando, did I hear that Lawrence Fishburne wants to play Professor Xavier? Yes, I did hear that. That would be fucking awesome. I'm curious how they would do that. He already played a character in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but, I guess they could always say it's a different variant of Professor Xavier. If you can't get Sir Patrick, whatever, the original Professor X from those original movies, obviously he's very old, so you're not going to have him do it beyond Doomsday and Secret Wars and stuff like that. Then yeah, if they want a new Professor Xavier, if it was either him or I thought Giancarlo Esposito would be great, but he's older too, but you need someone older anyway. But they already put him in fucking Captain Brave New World, so I don't think he's going to take that role either, unfortunately. My biggest unpopular opinion in wrestling, I'll give you one right now. I think The Miz works great as a babyface. Maybe not in 2025, but I enjoyed his other previous babyface runs, and I feel like the biggest issue with his previous babyface runs was the booking and not The Miz himself. I think Miz is a better heel than a babyface. He is a natural heel, of course, but I think he's a great babyface. And WWE did not give him enough of an opportunity to show what he could do in that role beyond, certain initial programs. Like the second one, for example, when they turned him babyface in 2019, the Shane feud completely fucking killed it. He was great early on, but they had him lose to Shane all the time. That completely killed his momentum. And then the second time when he was a babyface, or the third time he was a babyface, because he was first a face in 2012, 2013. The third time when they turned him a few years ago in 2023, he had a great feud with Gunther and some great matches, and then they did nothing with him after that. And I liked Awesome Truth. I enjoyed him in that role, and then they quickly turned him back heel. Am I a Charlie Dempsey fan? What about his brother Bull? Everyone forgets about Bull. I like Charlie Dempsey. I'm a Regal fan, obviously, so therefore I like Charlie. I think he's really good. Don't know what his ceiling is, but I think the kid's really good, and he has improved a lot. Favorite Disney song? Let's go Aladdin. You've got a friend like me. You never met a friend like me, or whatever it is. And am I tired of the Weekend Mania songs? No, I think it's a funny gimmick at this point. Alexis loves it. She loves hearing the new Weekend music every year. She liked the one this year. She thought that one was great. I think it's kind of funny. So, am I tired of it? No. I say keep the fucking streak going for as long as Undertaker's streak lasted at WrestleMania until they run out of songs to use. Fernando said, which movie are you most looking forward to? Avengers Doomsday or Spider-Man Brand New Day? Definitely Doomsday. I mean, Brand New Day sounds sick. It sounds like it's going to be a good movie, but Doomsday is just, it's a fucking Avengers movie, and the cast they have is good. You're going to see a lot of characters interact for the first time. Doctor Doom himself should be great. Their version of it should be interesting. I'm curious to see what they do with that. We don't really know much about the movie beyond the announcement of it, so that also has me curious too. So definitely Doomsday, but I am excited for Brand New Day as well. The other Spider-Man movies in the MCU have been great, and I think that one should be no exception. So that's going to do it, guys, for today's edition of #AskGSM, episode 621 for October 21st, 2015. Back to the Future Day, like I said earlier, guys. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. In the future, in the past, what have you. We actually did a Back to the Future watch-along many years ago here on the channel, so go back and watch that. Myself and Alexis watching Back to the Future here on the channel. I want to see it back in theaters when it goes back to theaters in a few weeks, but we'll see about that. My brother was saying that they actually have it in one of the theaters near us, that they have like the vibrating seats. I haven't gotten that full experience yet, so I'll probably have to watch that movie. If there's any movie to watch that experience with, it might have to be Back to the Future. But anyway, I appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, this was a great time. Those watching live and after the fact, thank you so much for all the support. Beats a lot. Shout out to the channel members, Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, at Swerve1 on IG, WON that is. Daniel Malcolm on X, at Quarter on X. Mr. Marceau, at RJ_Marceau on X. John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland on YouTube. Richie, Red Planet Wrestling, here on YouTube as well. And Average Grunt, at gruntwrestling.bluesky.social. Follow him over on Blue Sky. And if you want to become a channel member and get shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do here on the channel, you also get access to certain badges and emojis as a channel member, top billing on hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio. If you have a question or comment that you want me to answer / address, you also get early and ad-free access to certain videos here on the channel. You can get all of that for just $5 a month as a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member. Check that out down below. More information. Help support the channel would mean a lot. You can also support the channel by checking out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/WrestleRant. We got a WrestleRant t-shirt, we got a WrestleRant Christmas shirt, and a WrestleRant Halloween shirt. WrestleRant celebrates 15 years, actually, since I started the website specifically. 15 years this November. So support the channel, support what we do would be greatly appreciated by checking out the shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/WrestleRant. Grab one of the holiday ones, all designed by Alexis herself. She did a great job. Check out A Debt to Die For. I'll include the link on the community tab here on the channel. My brother did a short film with Roger Clark of Red Dead Redemption 2 fame. Great little clip. It's around 7-8 minutes long. I'll put it up on the community tab a little bit later on today, so check that out when you get a chance. And that's really about it. If you want to support the channel, like this video, subscribe as well. Hit that notification bell to be notified every single time we go live here on the channel and upload new content. We should be live again on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio. Myself and Mr. Marceau breaking down all the latest in the world of wrestling. That's coming up on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. But otherwise, though, if you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine on X at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video after we're done being live, and I'll include your question in next week's edition. Last couple of comments here. Nathaniel said, I'm excited for Spider-Man. Hope he sees Doom. He might. In Doomsday he will. In Spider-Man, I don't think so. But maybe he will. Did I enjoy the Macho Man cameo in the original Spider-Man movie? Fernando asked. Of course. Bonesaw McGraw, Bonesaw is ready, is an amazing cameo. We rewatched Spider-Man, the first one. Alexis and I did a couple of months ago. That scene is awesome. It's still a great scene, and he does an amazing job. And what's the most mad I've ever been in wrestling? I have no idea. Probably more so as a kid than anytime recently, but the Fiend bullshit at Hell in a Cell 2019, I was fucking pissed at. The Rock not showing up at Mania this year, I was pissed at. That was a big time rant here on the channel. Go back and check that out. Those are more recent stuff. I mean, I'm sure I've been pissed a lot over the years. A lot of fucking dumb shit this company has done. I mean, we're called WrestleRant for a reason, so take your pick, I guess. And Sadie Sink in the new Spider-Man movie, I'm aware. Yeah, I think she'll do a good job. I first saw her on Stranger Things when I binged that whole show earlier this year with Alexis. That was on our watch list for years. We finally watched the whole thing earlier this year. We will be watching the new show as it comes out next month, starting on the Thanksgiving Eve. And then we will watch the rest as they come out on Christmas and New Year's Eve as well. So anyway, guys, have an awesome one. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, this has been great. Be sure to like the video on the way out if you haven't already. Go back and watch Back to the Future 2 today, all right? Go spend your day watching Back to the Future 2, the greatest movie, or one of the greatest movies of all time, in my opinion. And that's really about it. So until next time, folks, I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road. But where we're going, we don't need roads.